This podcast is powered by, as always, entertainment. If you enjoy this content, consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/as always. Other than to support this show for just $1 a month or more, you get access to over 50 exclusive episodes of the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast that release every week the Kill Connor Club podcast isn't on. You also get a week's early access to the Spoilercast show, The Cinema Room, and plenty of cool perks such as being part of polls for future videos on our channels, as well as other early access material. With that said, please enjoy the podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Cinema Room podcast, the Spoilercast podcast where we talk movies, games, TV show seasons, and talk full spoilers and discuss our thoughts on them. I am one of your hosts, Tyler, joined as always by James. How's it going, my friend?
As always. How's it going?
Yeah, good man, good.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, we're back, episode 3. We've done Iron Man, Captain America, and we will continue with the MCU in order, but we've got a couple of other things in amongst it. Like today, we are doing a full discussion, our first video game on the Cinema Room podcast, Kingdom Hearts 3. So if you haven't finished Kingdom Hearts 3 and you want to play Kingdom Hearts 3, don't listen to this. Finish the game, then listen to this, because this is full spoilers galore. We're going to be talking about everything. The full game, the ending, the epilogue, our thoughts on what's coming next, the secret ending, everything. There's nothing off limits about Kingdom Hearts 3 in this podcast. So
Ooh.
yes, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited. And just to give a bit of an update as well for the next episode, so people can kind of get ready, we're doing a poll on Patreon. That's how we're deciding our next movie to review and discuss on the Cinema Room. We're doing a Tarantino film. At the moment, leading the poll is Inglourious Bastards. So it looks like that'll be it, but it might change. We'll keep you updated on Twitter and on YouTube on the community tab, so you can have a listen to that and watch the movie before we do the episode. Anyway, okay. James, we're here to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. I finished it. Finally, you finished it. You've been dying to talk to me about it. We've had little bits of discussion here and there. But overall, I guess let's start off by saying, from the build-up, the expectations, how much we both love this franchise, are you happy and satisfied with Kingdom Hearts 3?
I think that, I mean, off the top of my... you didn't do the names.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. I don't like your answer already, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is powered by the great people of over at patreon.com/as always. Of course, shout out to our Patreon producers, that's Seth King, Richard III, and Josh Devillier. But to thank a few of the sweet vintage lads that make this podcast happen, the reason we have 3 podcasts, the reason we do these podcasts is all because of the sweet vintage lads over at patreon.com/as always, and that cannot be more true than the Cinema Room podcast. So once again, thank you to those sweet vintage lads. We have Seth, King Richard III, Ballsack47, Josh Devillier, Damian, Billy the Team Tynamite Captain Robertson, Tman Travis, Casey Wood, Tony the Tarbiters, Pasty Dinas, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Smexy Dork, Lumistrad, Mario 5380, Viridian, ArunWyn, Ollie the Dane, Brendan or BQ Overlord, Ravjai, Julie, Prudhvi Muvva, Oscar, Benedict Parker Returns, James and Lad, Connor Durose Bully in the Alley, Gene, Son of a Bitch, Ogeaidogo, Furious Coco, the ACMJS, Delta R. Rodriguez, Kyle, S. Jaws, Kyle Marvell, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, David Bindis, Roxas, Beau Daman, Lamp, Yazen, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Elstico91, H-Parts12, I Got Lumbago, The Real Jorrator, Alfie, Rodbert, Brian Ford, Shields, Big Man Assassin, Fizhy, Andreu Martinez, and Pink Flame 313. Thank you, Sweet Vintage Lads, for helping power this podcast once again. Alright, James, let's get back to it. Kingdom Hearts 3, okay. Are you happy with it? Are you satisfied? What are your thoughts generally?
Let me
finished it. It's digested. You've had time to digest it. I've had time to digest it.
So, when I first finished... I think... I don't know what the reason was. I mean, we'll get into it properly.
Yeah, we will.
I think currently I'm pretty satisfied. I'm probably sitting at like a 90% satisfied with the ending of the game.
That's alright. That's alright.
And there's obviously reasons why I'm not 100%, but I mean, for the most part, I loved all of it. I thought it was done really well. I thought there was some really good payoffs. There were some moments that I didn't like, but for the most part, I think because whether the whole thing or not I liked, I think it contained a bunch of the best moments probably from all of Kingdom Hearts that happened in the whole ending sequence of Kingdom Hearts 3. So with all of that considered, I think it was really, really great. But there's just a few things that I'm like, not too happy with. But I think it was pretty great on the whole.
That's good. I mean, I feel the same way. I have some interesting things to say, and I guess it's based on my feelings with Kingdom Hearts as a whole. That I'm usually, you know me. I'm a very critical person. I have the ability to think critically. I think I can say that pretty safely. I've made people hate a lot of things based on coming on this podcast, you included, going from liking things, hating things. I think I'm reasonable. I'm a reasonable person and a critical thinker. But I do think, I will admit, I think when it comes to Kingdom Hearts, I don't know if I am as much. Like, I've heard some of your points that we're going to discuss later, and I do agree with you that would make sense to be upset about, but I'm just not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm just not. I love everything about this game. I don't love everything. There's things I don't like, but like, this game does so much so well. This game gives me everything I want so much that the things I didn't like are totally overshadowed by the things I loved. It's not a perfect game, but man, it might be my favorite game ever. It's everything I wanted. This game was everything I wanted it to be and more. So I'm very satisfied with it. I absolutely adore it. But again, there's definitely a lot to discuss, and there's definitely some things that could have been done better for sure. No doubt about it. Yeah. But I'm really happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with it. It's probably in my top three games of all time.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, because I feel like every time I talk about it sounds like I hate it when I really don't. Like, I think it's one of the best games I've ever played, and I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, although no Kingdom Hearts games are in my top 5, this game could be in my top 3, but I'm still not sure whether it's my favorite Kingdom Hearts game, which sounds weird.
That does sound weird.
But it's almost like, to play as a game on its own, like, the Disney worlds are so polished and everything's so fun that puts it above everything else. Like, it's the most polished, game, because it's the newest one. It feels really, like, modern and all that stuff. But in terms of which Kingdom Hearts game is the best, I feel like there's little things that really shouldn't drag it down in terms of my ranking of just games in general, in terms of enjoyment levels of games. Whereas when you look at it as part of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, it might not be above, it might not be above Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't know. I think I rank games differently compared to where I'm ranking them.
Yeah,
like, I have a different way of looking at them. But I love Kingdom Hearts 3. I think it's an incredible game, and it'll probably be my game of the year this year, unless something comes out of nowhere.
Unless The Last of Us Part 2 is just that good.
Yeah, but I doubt it. I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 will stay game of the year for me.
I do too. For me as well. I mean, it could be my favorite game of all time. I don't know, but again, we said this on Kill Connor Club. I said this on Clubhouse last week. I don't want to say, even in my reviews, whether this is or isn't my favorite game of all time, because we've said it a lot in the last 12 months with God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2. We've just said it a lot. We've just, the term best game of all time, this is the greatest thing ever, it's the most important thing ever, has been thrown around so much with you and me in the last 12 months that I don't need to say it. I just am going to say how much I loved this game. And, I love talking about, like, we spent, if you listen to Kill Connor Club, depending on whether you're on Patreon or not, last week or today, spoiler-free review of Kingdom Hearts 3, and we talked for like an hour and a bit about it. And we're talking about Keyblades and the Disney worlds and like the gameplay mechanics of it and the whole and I just had so much fun talking about it, even when we're critiquing stuff. And I'm so excited for today because I just love this. I just want to talk about this. I just want to talk about this game because there are moments where I cried like so hard a couple of times, and there were moments that were maybe underwhelming. I don't know, but I guess since we've talked about already on Kill Connor Club, the Disney World aspect of it, and that's not really the main important stuff. Let's talk about the just main overarching narrative. Let's talk about the main story of Kingdom Hearts 3 and the culmination it is. We don't need to talk about the Disney Worlds or the gameplay. We've already talked about that. We've reviewed that. You know, and if you haven't listened and you want to listen, go listen to Kill Connor Club episode 93, right? Yeah, 93.
Yeah, nice.
And we talk all about everything gameplay related mechanically and the Disney World and things like that, and our favorites and things. I even released a Honey Dick, which is just like us talking about the Disney Worlds. Yeah. Anyway, overall, in terms of the overarching narrative, I guess we should start with the 7 Guardians of Light, because most of this game is about Sora trying to get the power of awakening, which I know you have a few things to talk about with that, and
I do.
and the gathering the 7 vessels of light to battle the 13 vessels of light, Guardians of Light.
Yeah, you did.
The 13, I guess, there's more like 13 vessels of darkness in a lot of ways, because they're all fucking Xehanort vessels anyway, and the 7 Guardians of Light. It's just the word vessels used so much in this game, I just, threw it out there. How did you feel overall in terms of, I think that the biggest critique for me, it comes from when we're at these Disney worlds, I'm like, why am I here? Like, it's not a lot of, journeying. Like, Kingdom Hearts 1, you're searching for Kairi and Riku. That's where you're going to each world for. And Donald Goofy with you, searching for the king, sticking with you. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 2, what are you doing in Kingdom Hearts 2?
I think for the most part, you're trying to find Riku and save Riku.
Yeah.
But also, I think, because Riku's still lost somewhere, and you're trying to find him, because he must have fallen to darkness or whatever. But at the same time, you're also helping out and learning more from your friends and shit. I'm trying to remember exactly what you're doing in Kingdom Hearts 2. I think you're trying to get back home as well. But I think you start off searching for Riku, and once you learn there's something else going on, you're also sort of investigating that as well with like the organization members and stuff.
To
the point where it becomes sort of front and center. But there's always that reason that you're trying to find Riku, because then right at the end when Sora finds Riku at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, he's like, "Oh, we found him, it's Riku." So they must have been looking for him the whole time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I forgot the reason of Kingdom Hearts 2. But in this, like, Sora's trying to get the power of awakening, right? That's the main thing he's going around for. But you kind of just...
what is it, though?
You kind of just... you kind of just show up in Disney worlds and get involved in their business, which is what Sora, Donald, and Goofy do. That's kind of their thing. But it didn't seem like there was much of a reason. We're just kind of going to worlds because... but the thing is, I'm fine with that, because that's Kingdom Hearts. Like, I don't care. You don't actually need to give me a reason. But if you're thinking about it, like, it's not. They're kind of just going there, waiting, training back, building up strength again to see if something will boost up that power of awakening.
Yeah, but that's such a shit reason though. When you think about it, it's like they could have said so many different things. They could have come up with anything, but it's just like, oh, he's got to build his power back up, I guess. So go to all these Disney worlds, and and as well, given the fact that the power of waking doesn't have any rules set to it at all, because that's established by the end that none of it makes any sense. It just sort of does what it wants when it feels like it for the plot. So it's like, what would they do? And he doesn't. And then you find out later on that the power of waking just sort of works when you need it to. Like, it sort of activates in your heart when you most need it.
Yeah.
And so
which is, to be fair, that's kind of classic Kingdom Hearts thing anyway. To be fair,
but there was at least always like in Kingdom Hearts 2, like I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but like certain, like they would never do something for ages thinking like this is the reason you're doing these things, just for it to be like, actually no, none of that mattered because it was here all along. Like, Sora spent so long going to all those Disney worlds for no reason. It didn't matter at all. The only one that really mattered was Hercules, because he taught him that lesson of like, it'll, when you sort of, it sort of just like happened. He was just like, he really needed to save Meg, and so he just did it. And that was basically how the power of waking worked. That should have been all Sora needed, and then she was like, oh, okay, I see. So it'll happen when I most need it. And then he should have like gone to save Aqua and gone to save Ven.
Yeah, I agree.
But instead we went to 7 Disney Worlds doing a bunch of unrelated stories. Those unrelated stories were fantastic, and they were really, really good. It was just the link between the overarching narrative and getting the power of waking, and then those Disney Worlds were not interwoven like they normally are in Kingdom Hearts pretty well, which is a bit of a shame. But I can live with it. But when you're thinking about it, it's a bit strange.
Yeah,
so,
no, for sure.
There's that.
For sure. And I was thinking it the whole time. I'm like, there's not really a reason to be here. I don't care. And that's the thing a lot like I said, right from the get-go of this, is I've seen a bit of criticism for the game in some story aspects, but there are so many story elements to this game, and I just kind of knew that I was kind of impressed how it wasn't rushed. Like, I didn't think, like, a lot of things happened very quickly, but it didn't necessarily feel rushed to me. Like, it felt like...
See, that's something a lot of people have been saying, is that it feels rushed.
It didn't feel slow, but it didn't feel rushed. Like, I've played games that's like, well, they just kind of fucking threw everything in at the end. Assassin's Creed 3 comes to mind. At the end, they literally just did everything in the last 2 minutes. Whereas Kingdom Hearts 3, there's like a good 5 hours at the end where they're kind of doing everything.
I think the issue's less of that it was a rushed ending. I think it's just that the pacing was a bit different, maybe, to most Kingdom Hearts games, in that Kingdom Hearts normally paces their overarching story pretty well over the course of the game, and then at the end everything sort of ramps up into this big epic sort of finale type thing. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 3, all the Disney World, it's sort of like lopsided. Like, the Disney Worlds are clumped into one end, and between each of them you get a cutscene, but you don't really get a big moment. It's not until you finish all the Disney Worlds that then it sort of goes, okay, now here's all of the stuff that we could have put out throughout the game into one big section. I think that's a bit of an issue I have, is just with the structure of it. I feel like, ideally, maybe what you could have done is after the first set of Disney Worlds, maybe, you could have ended up going to the Realm of Darkness and saving Aqua. Then after the second set of Disney Worlds, you could save Ven. And then, like, after that, like, it cuts it up into the game, so there's some big moments all the way throughout the game until you get to this big culmination of, okay, now everything's come together, you finish all these, and then the Disney Worlds could actually have unlocked the power of waking as well. Like, rather than them being useless, it could have been like everything he learned, Sora could sort of realize how it works, rather than it being this weird innate thing that just sort of happened in him. Then it would have made all the Disney Worlds feel valuable. Then it would have made the pacing not so so everything was at the end. The structure would have been spread out throughout the game. And then you have Sora learns the power. He saves Ven. Everyone gets set up and does the battle. And then everything makes more sense. Whereas everything felt a bit disconnected.
I guess in terms of Aqua to then waking Ven, it's hard for that to be separated because Aqua knows exactly where he is, and that kind of happens straight away for that reason. So, I mean, you could have had all that at once. Like, I liked it at the start because you start off at Hercules. I kind of like how it throws you straight into it. That was cool. Mm-hmm. And then you have, like, a Riku section. I would have just kind of liked in between to have a little bit of Riku. Like, because we see the Riku cutscenes after each world, right? I would have liked to have played as Riku a little more. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily for long, but just kind of have, like, battles here and there.
Yeah.
And because I did like how you finish a world and it kind of jumped and you kind of got to look at the overarching narrative. But you're right, like, there needed to be bigger moments spread out in some ways, but I just don't know what those moments should have been, because I felt like when they had those moments was the right time to have those moments. I felt like Aqua coming in at the end was the right time for Aqua to come in. I feel like if it happened too soon, it could have felt a little less valuable, because, like, you start to think, it's like, well, how the fuck are they going to do it? And then right at the end, you finish all the Disney Worlds, that's when it happens. You have Riku battle these Heartless, and then you have Sora come down and save him, and then battle like Naughted Aqua, and it's just, I don't know, like, I felt like what happened when it happened worked. I would have liked definitely some things spread out. Like, I get that point, similar to the way in Kingdom Hearts 2, halfway through, you have a big section at Radiant Garden. And that's a big moment. But I don't necessarily disagree with where everything was put. It's just you could have added other elements and spread them out.
Sure, it's just I feel like everything just happened. Like, not. I feel like, maybe that's the issue, is that everything feels like it happened at the end because nothing happened at any other points other than little cutscenes where everyone was just sort of talking on the phone. That's another thing that was odd. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts, like, adding the phone meant that characters could just sort of stay where they were and just talk on the phone rather than meeting up or going to these different worlds. Like, I feel like Radiant Garden should have been a playable world. Like, that's a huge world that's been in both Kingdom Hearts 1 as Hollow Bastion and then Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep. It's a huge world and it's the hub of all of the characters that we know. That world should have been playable. I really don't know why it wasn't. And you could have done some really cool stuff there. And if not, if you really needed Twilight Town to be the hub, there should have been far more stuff to do there. And there should have been a major story part there as well, rather than it being so... It was just so dead. Like, you never do anything there. And you go back, like, once. And when you go back, it's for, like, 5 minutes. Nothing happens. And then you go back to doing all the Disney worlds. And as well, like, somewhere like Destiny Island should have been playable. In Kingdom Hearts 3, like when you go there with Donald and Goofy before you sort of enter wherever the fuck, I forget what that was, what all that bit was. Was it to get to the Realm of Darkness? Yeah, it was. But when that bit happens, you could have had it playable. Like, the thing is, in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, when you went to an area, it wasn't just a cutscene where you see Sora walking through an area. Like, you'd walk there yourself, you'd get dialogue, you'd get cutscenes. I felt like a lot of times in Kingdom Hearts 3, rather than allowing us to play a section, they just let us watch a section, which maybe wasn't necessary. Which is why I was quite surprised when you finally get to the Land of Departure, you actually run up to the main room, rather than just a cutscene showing Sora walked up some stairs. And for some reason, it just allows you to walk there, which I liked. I think there should have been more moments like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was something I liked that could have been very simply added in. Like, even just Radiant Garden, if you had a room that Riku walks up for a cutscene and then you have a little battle in it. And that's it.
Yeah, you don't even need to have... I would have loved Radiant Garden as a whole world, but if they can't do it, then, because of whatever, they've, too much stuff, then yeah, just add little small areas of Radiant Garden for us to play in. That would have been so nice. And the same with Destiny Islands, but they didn't do that. And it just got a bit... It almost... Because in older Kingdom Hearts games, it always felt so open. It felt like anything could happen. It felt like, we could go to this world, or we could go to that world. Like, it just felt... I don't know, it felt like you could go anywhere. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 3, I almost felt like it was restricted. Once I got halfway through, I realised we're not going to be going to these other worlds. They've got set worlds we're doing, and that's it. And I sort of realised that it felt very rigid in that sense. Whereas in other Kingdom Hearts games, I just felt so like... I don't know, so like, I didn't know what to expect. I was always like, maybe we could end up in like this random new world. And it always happened. There was always like, you'd always end up in places, and like Radiant Garden, Destiny Islands and stuff were always present. And they just weren't in Kingdom Hearts 3, and it was very strange.
I mean, they were. Every single major world other than like Traverse Town was, but it just wasn't playable. Like, Disney Island is in quite a bit.
It didn't feel like those were. It didn't feel like they were there. It was so odd. It was so strange to make Twilight Town the hub when everyone's lived in Radiant Garden for years. I mean, but nothing, but you could at least have you play there.
But if you had Radiant Garden, you have to have, like, Leon, Yuffie, Cloud, or whatever, and...
Oh, that's another criticism. Where the fuck were they?
None of them are in... Okay, I had an argument with Harlan about this, because he's like, where the fuck were they? I'm like, what? Who cares? There's
everybody.
No, they don't.
They're so important.
They're not so important. Their storyline like is over.
No, it's not. It didn't end. No, it didn't.
It ended in Kingdom
Hearts 2. No, it didn't.
Their storyline is over.
Coming from the person that never played Kingdom Hearts 2 because you never finished it.
What are you talking about? I didn't finish it.
You hate it.
That's fucking not true. I finished it while you were fucking
did not
6 months old.
In Kingdom Hearts 2.
You absolute twat.
It just sets up
the final part of his
story.
Radiant Garden can fuck off. You know what? I'm glad it wasn't in it. Look. I don't care they weren't in it. Would I have loved them to be in it? Of course. But it doesn't matter. hey,
But
didn't add anything.
it.
It wouldn't have added anything.
Of course it would.
What? The half-assed Leon, like, second guy that decided to voice him, then they just change him again anyway in the third game. Like, it doesn't matter. I always liked them, but they were never my favourites. They're not Roxas or Axel or Shion.
No,
they're not
but they're
Aqua
important,
Terra or
though.
Ventus. They're not Riku. They're not Mickey Donald. Fuck them. Fuck them.
But they're always there. That's the thing.
I have
Sid was
Jack
always
Sparrow
there to
back.
sort out your gummy shop, and the characters were always there. So like when they just don't show up, and Sora doesn't even mention them. He never even.
What
talks
would you
about
mention
them?
them?
Like, where the fuck
What would
did
you
they
mention
go?
them for? What would you mention them for?
Because they're main characters.
They're not main characters.
Yes, they are. They're all every time you go back to the hub worlds, they're there talking to you, like especially in Kingdom Hearts 1, Leon gave you so much information about stuff. Like he gave you like the amount of training and stuff you do with Leon, and then you talk to all these characters. They're so important. And then like in Kingdom Hearts 2, like you have a whole basically a whole side story with them, especially with Cloud, where you have the whole stuff with Sephiroth and everything, and they never finished that.
Okay, and I'll tell you why I'm going to defend it. Really, like, I get what you're saying. Doesn't matter to me as much. Like, when I was thinking to myself in my head, what do I want out of Kingdom Hearts? Never once did it come to my head, Leon and Yuffie better be in it. I never once did I think about that. Never once did that cross my mind.
I love those characters.
Would it have made it better? Yes, you are correct. Did it do anything bad, negative to me? No. Also, it did not do that.
See, it bothered me. It really bothered me.
Now, one thing, and we will get to it later. I think there's a reason for it, and I think it's because they're going to be pretty major in the future, because the secret ending suggests worlds that are Final Fantasy-esque.
Right. Well, maybe.
Like, I've watched a lot of, like, these breakdowns of it, and there's certain games, like, that are known.
Yeah, I see what Nomura's doing.
Yeah.
But, like, because he's trying to do the whole Versus 13 thing, but in Kingdom Hearts, because he's pissed off that he couldn't do it, and they turned it into Final Fantasy 15. But you've got, that's what the whole Verum Rex thing was, and that's the whole... because we can get into the secret ending later on and break that down and talk about it. I think it's just the Final Fantasy characters not being there on top of things like, Merlin showed up. He's a Disney character, I guess, but like, it's still, he was always with them. Nobody mentions them. I really wanted to finish Cloud's story. There should have been a Sephiroth boss battle and stuff. Those were all, like, in Kingdom Hearts 3, a game that's so big and is, like, meant to be the biggest one yet. I feel like it missed a lot of little things that makes some parts of the game feel shallow to me. And the Twilight Town as a hub world is one of those parts that just feels so nothing. And because it's nowhere near as deep as Kingdom Hearts 2 was with Radiant Garden. You've got, like, Winnie the Pooh. Did you do the Winnie the Pooh world?
No, I haven't done it yet.
It's nothing. It's like 5 minutes.
Really?
It didn't even need to be there. You go in, you talk to, like, the character interactions were cool, seeing the characters come back. It's this tiny little chain of memories room. Like, it's not big at all.
Yeah.
You do 3 mini games, they're all the same mini game, and then you leave, and that's the whole thing. And
holy shit.
There's no story to it. It's just shoehorned in for the sake of having Winnie the Pooh there. I would rather you just didn't have it. Because Winnie the Pooh's story was... they wrapped it up in 1, and then they wrapped it up again in 2. So, and that was done really well. If you're going to do it, make it a thing. If you're not going to do it, just don't do it. Yeah. Because it was so... It was so unnecessary. It really pissed me off.
Yeah. Look, I think this game had so much to do. Like, and that's in the build-up. We talked about it a million times. This game had so much to do. Did it do everything in the sense of, like, you're talking about this deep stuff, right? Like, you want the Sephiroth boss battle. You want these Final Fantasy characters. You want that deeper hub world. You want to be able to go to Radiant Garden. Destiny Island should have been playable. Those are the little things. You're right. Now, in terms of what it did do, I think it did prioritize correctly. Because I think what had to be there was there. What absolutely had to be there, and if it didn't do it, it would have been an unacceptable game, was there. Like, the main thing to me is when you look at the titles, the 9 Kingdom Hearts titles that came before, Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, 358 over 2 days, Kingdom Hearts 2, Birth by Sleep, Recoded was even fucking a part of this game. Then you have 0.2, Dream Drop Distance, Keyback Cover. All of them and all the storylines that they set up, all the characters they set up were finished off or set up for what's next. One of those two things. Nothing was missed in that way.
No, it wasn't. But on top of that, Kingdom Hearts has always had rich things to do outside of the main story, and I feel like I'm being harsh with my criticisms. I don't feel like, at the point I'm at, I feel like it's unfair to compare. I mean, other than the Final Fantasy characters, because they were present in Kingdom Hearts 2's normal game, I think it's unfair to compare Kingdom Hearts 3 to Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Because Final Mix added a fuck ton of stuff in both Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. And Nomura's already said, you know, it looks like that's something they're doing for Kingdom Hearts 3. It'll be some sort of update, whether it's paid for, whether it's free, I don't know. But it looks like they're going to do a big Final Mix update, which could add a bunch of stuff. And so that's why I'm not mad that there's no, like, you know, data organization bosses like the one in Kingdom Hearts 2. And, you know, there's certain elements that aren't there. You know, maybe things like Keyblades and secret bosses and
I think all of those will be in Final Mix.
Which is why I'm not mad at those things, to be honest. Although a lot of people are, I'm not, because I mean, although I guess you could look at KH2 Final Mix and then be like, okay, we should make a game to that standard, not the original standard. But it doesn't really matter because the main focus is the story. As long as with this Final Mix update they add a bunch of bonus content that brings it up to, you know, that level of what KH2 had, then I'm fine with that. I don't feel they'll add those Final Fantasy characters at any point, but if they did, that'd be interesting. But you know, whatever. As long as we get those secret bosses and stuff to flesh out, you know, the post game of Kingdom Hearts 3.
I wouldn't expect anything like that though till maybe the end of the year. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I'm not mad when it comes, as long as it comes. Because if this is it and this is how the game stays, it's going to be a bit odd because there's a lot of elements that really should have been in a game like Kingdom Hearts 3. That they did, we've seen them do before, so I think it's a bit strange, because I would love to fight all the individual organization members just on their own, have them be really tough, because, you know, that'd be great fun. Maybe they'll put critical mode in at the same time as well.
True. I hope the critical mode comes sooner than that, though, to be fair.
Yeah, she said it won't.
I'm sure it will. So to get, I guess, back on track a little and to dive into the story here.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout, you know, the Disney worlds and the main section of the game that you're building up towards and in each Disney world there's an organization member that is talking to you and teasing different elements, like Vanitas with Ventus, young Xehanort and consequences to battling the darkness and things like that. You also get cutscenes with Kairi and Lee and their training and their development, which is more really Lee's development than Kairi's. And we'll talk about Kairi later. Jesus fucking Christ. And then you've got Riku and Mickey doing their thing, trying to get Aqua back. But we get towards the end of the game. We finished all the Disney worlds, and this is the moment where things just turn up to 11, right? You finish Big Hero 6. As soon as you leave, there's cutscenes with Lee and Kairi and Sora, Donald, Goofy, and then it goes to Riku and Mickey in the Realm of Darkness at the beach again. That's when the Heartless attack and Norted Aqua comes up, and
was she Norted in the end? Because
I don't know, Norted or just
fucking confused me. Because we assumed she was, because she had the yellow eyes, she had the white hair.
Yeah,
but then I don't think she was she?
Or was she just corrupted by darkness? Is that just what being corrupted by darkness is? I don't know.
I guess so, because the same must have happened to Xehanort, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe she was an Audit. I don't know. I don't think...
Yeah, anyway, yeah.
And then...
Dark Aqua, I guess.
Yeah, Riku, you have a battle with Riku, then Sora comes down to save Riku. They have that dreamed up distance sort of like ultimate weapon Keyblade moment, which is fucking awesome. And then... Aqua attacks Riku, Sora saves him, and then you have that amazing battle, which is probably one of the highlight boss battles, to be fair, with Sora versus Aqua, which was...
Yeah, it was alright. Like, as a piece, it was really cool. As a scene, it was really cool. As an actual boss battle, it was fine.
It was fine. Right. It wasn't one of the best boss battles. It wasn't a bad one either, but yeah, as a set piece, it was incredible. The music was really great in it too.
Oh yeah, it was. It's fantastic.
And we should talk about that as well later on. The soundtrack to this game was probably the best,
my God,
the best ever.
Not even just the soundtrack, but the placement of each track when they decide to play bits of music and where they. Oh, it was brilliant. Like the arrangement.
I think within 2 hours, I tweeted out that I think Kingdom Hearts 3 is the best scored game I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, it's done so well. It's really brilliant, especially when because they add bits of new music, you know, sort of remakes of old music, and then actual like the old music from the old games, and it's all sort of mixed together, and they use it at the right times. It's just great. Like,
there's always music
really
for every
stuff.
Situation, whether it's gameplay or whether it's a special moment or whether it's a cutscene. I think it's the best scored game of all time. I think, you know.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah. And it's always a shame because they never release the soundtracks. It's fucked.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah. You have to download them off YouTube, different soundtrack pieces. I think
annoying.
it had the best Dearly Beloved.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah, and I love that.
Which is weird because I always thought the original was the best. But until this one, I think that Kingdom Hearts 3 has somehow taken the original and it just like made it something else, and it just feels so good. Like, yeah, it's a really good piece.
Because it was the most different to the original, but somehow the most I don't know, authentic to the original at the same time. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I love it even brought in the orchestral version of Simple and Clean at the end as well. Like, they really...
Oh, yeah, Hikari. Oh, that was so fucking good. I was waiting for that piece of music to come in for the whole game, and I would have been so disappointed if it didn't play. Yeah. I'm so happy they used it. They used it at just the right bit as well.
Yeah.
Because it was that connection to, like this is the end
Full
of this
circle.
story and connecting to the next one. It was so fucking good. And as well, the moment that it plays is when Sora is like, I'm going to go and find Kairi.
Yeah,
and that's
such a
how
classic.
Kingdom Hearts 1 started.
Yeah.
And so it was like, yeah, it was bloody fantastic. I loved that. It was so great.
Yeah. And, yes, I guess, so to go back, because we keep sidetracking, which is, you know, great and all, but with that Aqua battle, and Sora, obviously, you beat her, and she falls, you know, into the water and falling in darkness. She says this is how it ends. And then you have that moment that's from the 0.2, the, you know, opening scene, like CGI scene, where you see right at the end Sora's hand reach down in the water to grab Aqua's, and we actually get that moment in the game here, which I really liked.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, we talked about before in the little things maybe that it might have missed in terms of gameplay as a game structure, but I think in terms of story, it nailed the little things. Like the callbacks, like the little moments that connected things, the full circle moments, the music moments.
Yeah, everything made sense.
The Riku and Sora, that just little throwback to that Dream Drop Distance, you know, special move. Everything. I think in terms of story, it did the little things perfectly. Maybe just in terms of gameplay, it didn't necessarily do the little things perfectly. I think I definitely would agree with you on that. How did you feel? Like, to me, I'd probably say my favorite moment of the whole game was this, where Aqua's brought to the realm of light. When that happened, and Aqua kind of sits up, and she sees Ventus and Terra and realizes it's Riku and Sora, and they're saying, you know, you're right. She said, we're at the Destiny Islands. When did this fall to the realm of darkness? And Riku says, you're at the realm of light. A tear falls down Aqua's face, and Sora says, you're home. I just burst into tears hard. Hard.
No, yeah, I did as well. But I did so many moments throughout the game. There's so many. I don't know if I could pick a favorite moment. Like, oh, man, there was so many moments where I just fucking lost it.
When did you start? Like, I cried as soon as Dearly Beloved started playing opening menu. I cried. I don't think I cried again until Aqua came back.
I cried a few times.
What did you cry at? Like in the Disney World?
Okay, for one, I cried at the opening cinematic where it recaps all the games.
Okay, I got a little emotional, but I probably did too. Yeah.
I love that so much. It was so fucking great. Like the full thing.
Face My Fears is such a great intro song. Such a great song.
That was great. I'm trying to think of other moments.
I just also like to point out that I called, as soon as Don't Think Twice came out, I said to you, that's the credit song. That is not the intro song. I did say that. You can go back and kill Coco. I said that, and it fucking worked as a credit song too. It was really great credit song.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to think what other moments. I'm trying to think what happened in the game. Let me think.
A lot happened.
I'm trying to think what happened in that first half. Like when you're playing on the Disney worlds, because not a lot of hugely impactful, like, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of cool stuff, but like, you know what I mean? Like, not hugely emotionally impactful things happen until you finish Big Hero 6.
I guess there's just lots of moments with just like Sora, Donald, and Goofy have a lot of really cool moments together in it, I think.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like connections. Even just the Haina Pensolet stuff was really great in Twilight Town, I thought, as well.
Yeah, maybe I didn't have any more emotional breakdowns until that Aqua
yeah.
bit.
Oh, dude, that was of everything in the game. That was the hardest I cried. Like literally just.
Nah, it wasn't for me. Although I fucking loved it so much. I think I might have. I cried more. Yeah, I think it's between either the scene in the Land of Departure, that whole section.
Yeah.
Or when the 358 guys
reunite,
come back together.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, either one of those is probably the moment where I cried the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably agree with you there. But I found like I just didn't recover when the Land of Departure stuff. Like I was still like emotional about the Aqua returning, and then you're in the Land of Departure, and then you have the big moment that I went from crying, I'm still crying, to like pumped up when the camera turns on. I realize I'm like, oh my god, I'm about to play as Aqua. I'm gonna fight Venice. Oh my god, I'm in the Land of Departure.
So
I'm about to play as Aqua.
good.
And then the camera turns and the battle starts, and I'm just like, what, with tears running down my face. Fuck yes, let's fuck him up. Fucking let's go. Like that was me. Like
so
still so emotional. And then Ventus comes back, which is great, and I was emotional, but not as much as Aqua means so much more to me than any of those other characters do. So, like, just to play as Aqua, come back in the Realm of Light, to play as Aqua, see the Land of Departure again, and then Ventus comes back. It was just so much so quickly. That was just, I was like, holy shit, I need a minute. Like, I need a minute to recover.
Yeah. It was such a strange, like, feeling as well, because in that scene when Ventus comes back, with Aqua coming back, it wasn't like, oh my god, Aqua's back. It was like, I've seen her in 0.2. Like, she was always present to me. Whereas seeing Ventus properly come back in Kingdom Hearts 3 and seeing him be present and conscious was so fucking weird. And I loved it. I was just like, this is great. And when it, like, and he comes out to, like, save Aqua, and he's just like, oh, it's so great to see those two back together again. And when they sat on the steps of the Mysterious Tower and got their, like, wayfinders out and, like, talking about trying to get Terra back and everything. It was just so great. Like, everyone had their own moments in this game. Like, it wasn't fully focused on just Sora, Riku. I guess not really Kairi, but, you know, it wasn't really focused on those characters. It also, everyone else had their moments too. Like, Lee was very present. The Birth by Sleep characters had their stuff. The 358 characters had their stuff. Everyone felt like they had their own stories and their own screen time and moments, rather than it just being focused on Sora with everyone else being background. And I really fucking liked that. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fucking hell, man. Like, there's so many moments that, I guess, like, because we were talking before, like, and I was saying, I don't feel like it was rushed. And it wasn't, but, like, there was a lot that happened all together. And just one after the other, after the other, after the other. I felt like it was paced well in terms of it. Like, it wasn't one thing that happened, then literally 30 seconds later, the next thing happened. It was all in one scene or something like that. Like, everyone got their moments to shine. I felt like, like you never felt like, oh, the 358 moment was overshadowed because the next scene is something that was more important. Like they let it sink in.
Yeah, no, I think it was done great. I think it was done bloody great. And all of, like, the whole lead up to the Keyblade Graveyard was really good as well, because you spent a lot of time. Like, they didn't rush into it. I don't think it was rushed at all.
Yeah,
I think that the only issue is just with the structure of the overall game. The whole ending section, though, I don't think it was rushed at all. There was so much time spent on each little moment. Like, when you first get to the Keyblade Graveyard,
that ending is about 6 hours. The whole ending section is 6 hours long. Yeah. It is so long. And for me, it might have been quick because I was significantly over-leveled. Like, the whole last battle with Xehanort, I mean, I didn't die once. Like, I just literally
I died a few times.
fucked him up very quickly. And I was like, I think I was over-leveled. Like, I think...
That was a great boss battle as well. We can talk about that in a bit, though.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll get there. Because I think there's a lot to cover just in this last 6 hours. And we've barely kind of cracked into it. It felt like a Mass Effect moment, right? Like, right before the final big mission, they had that night before where they all kind of had a moment to rest and they had scenes with everyone. You know, Lee had a scene in Twilight Town where he's eating the ice creams alone.
Oh, no, I cried there as well.
Did
he was on the fucking tower on his own
and then
with the
Sykes
ice
comes.
cream. Oh, God, I lost it. I don't know why he decided to show up. Like, I get they had this, like, weird little... Like, they were friends beforehand, but
they were best
it was
friends
a
as
bit
kids,
weird
remember?
that
And both by
Sykes
sleep.
just showed up and he's like, hey, how's it go? We're
Okay.
enemies. I'm just sort of here.
Okay,
like...
can we talk about this? Can we talk about this, actually? I want to talk about this now. Who in
Okay.
the fuck is the girl they keep talking about?
Yeah, I have no
Because,
fucking idea.
okay, you don't know either, because Harlan tells me he knows, but he didn't want to spoil it. And I'm like, what? Okay. And then nothing happened. I'm like,
What?
Nothing. What are you talking about, man?
Well, who does he think it is?
I don't know. I haven't talked to
haven't
him since I
asked him?
finished. I'm asking him now because I thought, what the fuck? Hang on,
I
I'm
don't,
texting
it's
him now.
no one. Because I thought, oh, maybe it's Shion. But then I thought, that doesn't make sense. Because they're talking about before they were in the organization. Before they even joined Ansem the Wise to study under him in Birth by Sleep.
Because I went and looked it up and everyone's saying, like, we're not supposed to know yet.
Yeah, I don't think we are supposed to know. I don't think we are.
But there's some girl they introduced. I'm like, is that like a future storyline? Is that like... Is that
I
Anna?
think it is a future storyline.
I think it could be Anna because she doesn't show up. One of the Lost Masters. She's not at the end. She has her own mission apparently. So maybe she was involved somehow.
Oh yeah. Oh,
That was
yeah.
the only connection I thought. So maybe I'll see what Harlan says.
That fucks me up more because what is up with this fucking the connection between the ancient Keyblade War and the Lost Masters and this current timeline? What the
hey, bro, you're getting ahead of
time jump.
You're getting ahead of yourself, and yeah, it also makes no sense because apparently Ventus is in there too. Like, you know what I mean? Like Ventus trained in Anna's like.
Ventus. Her name's Ava.
Ava.
It's a V. Yeah.
What does it say? Anna. Does it? Oh, okay.
Anna.
Sorry,
Yeah. From Frozen. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Uncle Ben.
Hey man.
From Star Wars.
Hey man. Fuck you.
Okay.
Look. Yeah. That whole section with the Lee and Sykes got a scene, Kyrie and Sora got a scene, Riku and his replica got a scene.
Riku and himself. Yeah. Okay. Classic Kingdom Hearts. Can we just talk about that scene with Sora and Kyrie?
Yes, we can.
Because that's the bit when they share the Palpu fruit.
Yes.
Finally on the tree.
How unearned was that scene? How unearned was that?
You know what? That's
scene?
the one scene I actually like. That's the one scene in the whole game I actually like. No,
yeah, everything else sucked.
It's the one scene with Kyrie and stuff that I actually thought was good. I was like, that's good. I'm happy
but
they're together.
It should have happened in Kingdom Hearts 2, man. Like, it wasn't earned in 3. You can't go 30 hours in this game plus Dream Drop Distance in between, and they've been in the same room so many times, and then this happens now. And you have no development for it. You have no real interaction with it. They kind of just expect you to remember they're in love from the first game. This is the 10th title.
Yeah, true. Like, especially in Kingdom Hearts 2, although he was really happy to see Kyrie again, he was way more in love with Riku.
Yeah. I'm so certain they fuck Riku and Sora.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. They shared a Palpu. That's what it is.
I'm cool with that.
They might not want
totally
to do
cool
it,
with
but they're together. They can't help it anymore. They shared that fruit.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. Although I still love the scene because I do remember Kingdom Hearts 1.
And I did like the
so.
scene because don't get me wrong, like I like the scene, but like on reflection, there's not a scene I didn't like whilst playing. But on reflection, I'm like, fuck, Kyrie sucked in this game. They really just did nothing.
So
but she's kind of sucked for a while. Like, she has sucked for a while. She wasn't great in Kingdom Hearts 2 either. She was great, great in the first game.
She's always been good at what she's always been good for what she's good for, though. Like, she was always good in Kingdom Hearts 2 because she wasn't trying to be, you know, a Keyblade wielder, like this fighter. She was
barely even given development. Like, all those scenes with Lee are about Lee. They're not really about Kyrie's character development. She has no character development.
She gets nothing.
She hasn't had any character development literally from the first scene she was in Kingdom Hearts 1. She's had none. None.
Yeah.
Zero. Character development. She's always just there.
Yeah. It's like
always
Kingdom
needs
Hearts 1,
rescuing.
Yeah, she needed rescuing Kingdom Hearts 1. That all made sense. That was great. Kingdom Hearts 2, she was... it needed rescuing again. It was fine in Kingdom Hearts 2 because she had a moment where she got
let me ask you a question. Who's Kairi? Who is she? Like, tell me something about her that's interesting.
She can wield a Keyblade.
Yep. Cool.
She grew up in Radiant Garden and then ended up in Destiny Islands because Aqua put a spell on her.
Yeah. So Aqua made her interesting, for one thing.
Yeah.
So it was Aqua really that did that.
Yeah. I just wish they'd done something because it would have made Kingdom Hearts 2... Kingdom Hearts 2 was like her transition from being the Kairi of KH1 that's helpless. We found out she could use a Keyblade. That can come into play later on. Then DDD set up, okay, she's going to be present. She's going to be one of the Guardians of Light. And then they just didn't do anything with it. She did nothing. And then she died. So...
She did die, that's true. On? She did actually die.
She actually died.
She actually did die.
not just got
she
her
died
heart
twice.
locked
No,
or
she
fell
actually
asleep.
died twice.
She fully fucking died.
She died twice.
Xehanort... Yeah, she did die twice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Kairi.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
A lot of people are saying that the next game will be a side game with Kairi looking for Sora. What do you think about that?
No.
What if they do? What if they do something with it though? What if they
with
make
her,
her actually
I
interesting?
really don't want to play as Kairi ever at any point. No. If you do a side game that isn't Sora, like if there's a side game that isn't Sora, you either do it with Riku or Aqua. No one else. Or a new person. No one else. I
wouldn't mind Kairi, to be honest.
Riku searching for Sora makes way more sense, especially with the secret ending that Riku's involved. You know what I mean? Like, it makes more sense that it would be a Riku thing. Searching for Sora, because he's also, all of a sudden in the secret ending, he's in some other world. Same as Sora's in some other world.
Probably not the same world, though.
No, I don't think it's the same world. Yeah, I think it's a different world, too. But, nevertheless, I think it'd be Riku. I want to play as Aqua again. You know, I want Aqua and the Birth by Sleep crew to still be involved in the future. I wouldn't mind even playing as Roxas. I love what they did with Roxas in this game. It's the best Roxas has ever been, in my opinion.
I love Roxas.
Yeah. I love Roxas too now. Hate him in 2 still. Hate.
No, you don't. You can't hate him.
I don't hate him. I hate the start of the game in 2.
That's fair.
I don't hate him because I love him in 358. I love 358 over 2 days. It's such a fucking awesome game movie. But I just hate the start of Kingdom Hearts 2. I
actually like the start of Kingdom Hearts 2 because I love that you play as Roxas for a while and then that payoff when you see Sora and everything. It's almost like
too long.
This is the weirdest analogy, but in Red Dead 2, spoilers for Red Dead Redemption 2. After Arthur dies and you start playing as John, the tone and the music and everything of the game shifts so much, and I love it. And that's how it feels to me when I play Kingdom Hearts 2. Roxas's tone feels so different. And then when you finally play as Sora, it's like, oh yeah, this is Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Like, everything's back. It's so good. I love it.
But it's fine, like, once. When I'm replaying it, too long. Too long doing nothing of relevance. Too long doing something that...
It's not that long.
Too long doing something that isn't even real. Like, it's not even
matter,
real.
Though. Well, Dream Drop Distance isn't real, so fuck off.
God, it's a fucking marker mastery exam, you absolute whore.
Yeah,
so shut the fuck up.
But the point of it is real, but none of it's real, and that's the same
No,
as
it's not.
KH2.
The point of it is not real. The point of it is not real in 2.
No, but the point of it is to give Roxas
isn't even the
development.
Roxas that comes back. The Roxas that comes back at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 is the Roxas that was in 358 over 2 days. Not the Roxas that was...
it's the same Roxas.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Because it's the Roxas that's in Sora's heart.
Whatever.
After the end of... Because
Whatever.
There's two... No, let me explain this right now.
Who
there are
the
two
fuck
Roxases.
is Aramas? I don't know.
Still nobody knows what that is.
Nobody knows. It's just you and me that know what that is.
Fucking yes, look, there's two Roxas. There's the one in Sora's heart, no, they're both in Sora's heart. There's the one from 358. He went to Sora's heart because he went to find Ansem the Wise, who put him in Sora's heart, but then he also had to get the memories back from Sora. So he took Roxas and also put him in the Data Twilight Town, which is the other copy of Roxas that also goes into Sora's heart, and they both combine, and they're like one. Then it becomes one Roxas in Sora's heart. So Roxas remembers everything.
Yeah, whatever, bro.
Yeah, so it is fucking important. So fuck off and enjoy it.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck
And
off.
if you don't enjoy it, I'm gonna be angry about it.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever. Fuck
All right,
you.
where were we? Destiny Islands.
Yeah,
They're all
so
having their moments.
the day before the battle, we get to the Keyblade Graveyard finally. I love the first kind of like as soon as you arrive, massive like that you know Kingdom Hearts 3's version of that massive war with the nobodies in Kingdom Hearts 2 at Radiant Garden, which is an amazing moment, and they kind of escalated in this, and it was amazing. I absolutely loved this moment. And then
yeah, I thought it was great.
Finally, the Guardians of Light are all gathered, and you are face down with Terranaut. So Terra's there, and he then strikes down Roxas, and then a Heartless Tornado comes in, takes down. Is it Ventus that gets? Takes down Ventus, takes down Lee, and then takes down Kyrie. Who's the third person that gets hurt? This third person that gets hurt.
I don't remember what. Well, Terranaut takes out a bunch of them, like smacks them into rocks and shit, and fucks them all up. And then is that after that is when fucking Donald like nearly kills himself by using a really powerful magic spell.
Oh yeah. And that was a really cool moment for Donald too. I was like, holy shit.
That was mental. I was like, did they just kill Donald? In the back of my mind, where I'm like, they can't kill Disney characters, but did they just fucking kill Donald?
Yeah.
Like I felt like he was dead.
And
that was a great moment.
But then the tornado comes and swallows everybody up. Everybody up except Riku and Sora. And Sora just sits that moment in the last battle trailer of Sora just screams.
Oh man, that whole section was amazing.
And then the tornado comes down and Riku just walks up to it and goes, "You don't believe that, Sora? I know you don't." And then just blocks the fucking Heartless Tornado himself. And it's like, holy shit.
So
and then all of a sudden you start seeing the Heartless like swallowing and the darkness swallowing Riku. I'm like, Sora, do something. Sora, do something. Sora, do something. And then it doesn't. Swallows Riku, swallows Sora, fades to black, and says, as it was foretold, darkness prevails and light expires. And I'm like...
And that was it.
Wait, what? I thought for a split second, I was like, wait. Because I talked to you and I talked to Harlan, my brother, about and you guys had finished it. And both your reactions were fucking weird. I was like, what do you mean? This game is perfect. What are you talking about? I hadn't finished it yet. And both your reactions were weird. And so when that happened, in any other circumstance, it would have been like, oh, well, I mean, it's not over. But just because your reaction was so weird, I sat there for a second like, the credits better not fucking roll right now. I like almost believed that was the end. And then all of a sudden, Sora wakes up and he's dead. And you're in the final world, which was a great little section, I thought.
Yeah, I really like that.
And what was your thoughts, I guess, of like from that section? Because it kind of slowed it down a bit because Sora had to reconnect himself and then you had to go rescue all the different hearts. And you were battling this like Reaper Heartless that had everyone's heart. You battled him 7 fucking times. Like, how did you feel about all
that? I really liked that bit. I liked seeing the Cherokee, which was really cool. Connecting that stuff up. Well, I'm not entirely sure why the Cherokee was there, but
the final world itself was really interesting.
It was really nice, like aesthetically. I really liked how everything looked, like all of the reflections in the water and stuff. It was really nice, especially because Kingdom Hearts 3 looked so fucking beautiful. And then there's those little stars that you can talk to, which were interesting. One of them was Namine, and the other one was, who was it? Who was that? because it was like talking about someone, but it was like not telling you who it was.
Wait, who?
And
wait,
then like
wait,
whispers
what?
something to Sora. You know there's those stars you talk to. Well, you know when you collect piecing together.
Yeah, I didn't. I only talked to like two of them. I was like, I thought that was random dead people.
Did you talk? Oh, because there was like a load, and I did all of them.
Oh, did you?
But there was 2 that were full cutscenes. Has like proper dialogue. No. Did you miss those?
No, I missed those.
Okay, so one of them was Namine, and that was obvious because Sora's like, I'm gonna thank you properly once I can. Like, I'm not gonna do it here. And he's like, oh, the data escape doesn't count and all that stuff. And then so that's fine, talking about Namine and everything. Then there's another one, and it's this girl. I don't know who the fuck it is. And then she said she won't tell Sora who. Oh no, I think she does, but she whispers it to him. So like Sora goes really close to the star, and there's no subtitles, and you can't hear anything. And she obviously says something to Sora, like whispers it to him, and his reaction is like, oh, like confused, and then that's it, and then you don't do any more, and that's
what does
it.
she say? What else does she say? Like,
I don't remember. I'm gonna see if I've got. See if I can find it. I recorded all my footage, so I've got it. I should have it here somewhere, so I can just quickly go and have a look.
That's interesting. That's interesting. It's especially because we're still trying to figure out who the fucking girl Lee and Sykes are talking about as well.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a coincidence.
Yeah, you know what?
I think it's based on the epilogue. I think all of this is Ava. I think,
maybe
that's going to somehow come into it.
I wasn't. Oh yeah, maybe. I forget.
It's in the explanation because there's no other just girl. You know what I mean? That would be like. There's no reason to keep it a secret unless it's someone we already know, and there's no one else it could be. I don't think.
Here it is. Okay, so, this guy. Yeah, so Sora's like someone's coming for you, and she's just say, let's just say I've got your back, and then, oh no, that's Namine. Where's the other one? This is the other one. Okay, so he goes up to the star, talks to the star, and he's just sort of asks, like, says hello. The star says good day. He's like, oh cool, you can talk. And then the star asks, you look like a person. How is it that you retain your appearance? Are you special? Oh shit, I skipped all the way over it, fuck. Ooh, that's... They took away my name. Ooh, this is interesting. I don't know how I forgot about all this. Yeah, he's like confused. He doesn't know how. He's like, I don't know how I kept my body. The star's like, oh, as are we all. So Sora asks, so whose heart is you? And the star says, no one's anymore. They took away my name, everything about me.
Huh.
And then Sora says, no way, they couldn't have taken away your heart. And the star says, only because it pines for another. And Sora says, yeah, someone's coming for you. Like, asks it. And then the star says, I cannot be certain. He's been changed beyond recognition, his heart replaced with another's.
Oh, that's Syx. It's got to be Syx, right?
Yeah, potentially.
This has got to be the girl.
Yeah, but they remember the girl, because she says now, but were he to regain his old self, he would be distressed by my absence. But he knows that she's gone. So I choose to wait here where he can find me.
Huh.
And Sora's like, you gotta believe. And then the star's like, believe? Oh, you mean know in my heart he will return without any proof?
Yeah.
And then Sora's like, yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, exactly that.
I thought it was all over for me, but a friend of mine looked me in the eye and said, you don't believe that. And the star... does it do anything? It's just sort of spinning. Sora asked who did it, who did this to you. Heartless steal hearts, so a nobody. The star says a somebody. Sora's a bit confused. Says he wish he could help. And then the star... then Sora's like, my situation's no better. And then he just sits down.
Huh.
And then I think this is where the star does something. So he says, The star says you must see to the task at hand before. The task, yeah, and then Sora's like, the task before me. There's so many. And the star says, all the more reason for you to make an effort.
That's interesting. Like, I don't think any of these little teasers are for nothing. Because there's a lot about some girl we don't know about. All of a sudden an Ava's just not where she's supposed to be. She's just the one Lost Master. Which she's one of the most important Lost Masters as well, I might add.
This star as well looks like it's really intelligent, because it says like, oh, you retain like your body, and like purpose will give you direction and all this stuff. Like, it sounds like someone that's pretty wise, that knows what they're talking about. So yeah, it could be. That's very interesting. I like that. And then this is, so Sora asks, if I see him, I'll tell him. What's his name? And then the star comes over and whispers it in Sora's ear, and he's like, whoa, what? Like, his eyes widen, and he's like, whoa. And then the star goes away. And then the star's like, our secret, and then vanishes. And Sora looks freaked out. And then the cutscene ends.
So obviously it's a name he recognized.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it must be a name he recognizes. So, you know, it couldn't have been Ava saying like Lucio or something, because Sora would be like, I don't know who the fuck that is.
I'd be like,
unless the star said Zigbar, or it could have been Isa, or which I guess would make sense. But then would Sora would he not bring this up?
Yeah, but I guess in the moment you battle Sykes, it's more of a 358 moment, so it doesn't really come up.
I guess so. It's interesting. Like, I would like, because I thought while I was playing, I was like, I'm really confused. Have I missed something? Like, who the fuck is this girl they keep talking about and keep bringing up? Because it's brought up a couple of times. Yeah. And I was not sure, like, whether it was Shion or not. Like, whether I was missing something.
I knew it wasn't
Shion.
I knew it wasn't Shion. I was like, there's no way. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I realized at the end, I was like, yeah,
it's not Namine because she doesn't even exist until after what they're talking about.
Yeah. Neither does Shion, so it can't be either of them.
Yeah.
So it's in because they say they knew her, and the reason they joined up with Ansem the Wise was to try and find her. So it's like, but even before you meet Lee in Birth by Sleep, there was this girl. So who the fuck was it? Like, what is this, and what's the relevance to the story? I assume it will come into play later down the line. Obviously, they're just setting little things up here, I suppose, for the future. But I reckon that star might have something to do with it in the final world.
I think you might be right. I really think you might be right. But yeah, everyone dies, and that's the end. Yeah. But so once you like Sora reconnects everybody, and all of a sudden you're all back. But at first I thought everyone realized what had happened and they knew they were all back. But then they start reliving the exact same scene again. So you've kind of gone back in time.
Yeah.
Where Aqua and Ventus see Terra, who becomes Terranaut, and he goes to strike.
Yeah. Ventus down. You have to go reconnect their hearts first with the power of waking. You go into each world.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, said that already.
Oh, that's the bit though. There's that bit though with young Xehanort. That's quite relevant when he shows up in the Big Hero 6 world, and he's like, oh, if you keep using it, you're going to end up in a dark abyss, because you can't, it's not made for jumping from heart to heart. Like, you might be able to wake people up, but you're going to get lost in the process, which is important for the ending.
Is important for the ending. That's true. And that was kind of setting stuff up when you said that. I'm like, okay, well, something's going to happen to Sora, obviously. Like, I knew that from that line. I'm like, that's not a no reason line. That's okay. Well, something's happening to Sora at the end of this. So you come back and they're kind of reliving that moment. And I thought when Terranaut went to strike down Ventus, I was like, okay. And then he kind of got stopped. I was like, oh, that's Sora, because Sora knows what happens and he's going to prevent it. But then I thought so too. But then it's Terra in his armor. It's like Terra's heart.
Yeah. The lingering will from Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, it's a lingering will. And it doesn't make sense.
No, it does make sense.
Why does it make sense? Why did the timeline change?
Okay, when you go to because you didn't speak to the stars, it's Namine that says she'll try and contact a friend that's like.
Is it Namine's voice or is it just?
Yeah, it's Namine's voice. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a voice to the other star, or is it just subtitles in the cutscene?
Yeah, there isn't a voice to the other star.
Oh, what's the voice sound like?
It's just like a regular girl. Like, I don't know. It's nothing that made me realize, oh, this is a character we know. Like,
okay.
But yeah, is it Namine that does it? Yeah, it is. That says, that it's basically alluding to because when the Lingering Will showed up, I was like, oh, that's what the star was talking about. So like, I put the dot, like I connected the dots in my head, so it made sense. So the star basically says that it'll try and contact Terra's heart to
travel
have
through
that happen.
time.
So I don't really understand exactly why they're reliving the events. Like, I don't know how all of them traveled back in time.
Yeah.
I guess they just did. You know what it was? I know what it was. I guess it was so in the time that you're in the final world, I guess the star goes and contacts Terra's heart that's just kind of chilling in the Keyblade Graveyard, because that's just where he's been, just sitting there for ages. But because Sora dies, I guess his heart is released from his body, and then it travels back in time to the vessel that's waiting in the past, which was before they did this and they all died. So Sora could go back in time and do it again.
Yeah.
But this time, Lingering Will shows up because Sora had the chance to speak to Namine in the final world.
Sure, but not only that happens, there's a scene when we jump back in time to young Xehanort and young Master Ericus, and Ericus says, there's more to light than meets the eye, and it's a line he said before, and then he says specifically, like, light can come from anywhere, even any time, or something like that. Like, I forget the exact line.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment where, that shadow's coming again and coming to take everyone out, even when Terranor gets defeated. But the Heartless will come and that tornado comes. But there's a moment where Sora just runs up to take it on, and everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing, Sora? And then you have this amazing moment that, of all the things I never expected to happen, this is one of the ones I'm like, what a great little thing. One of those little moments in the story that I didn't expect. And if it didn't happen, I wouldn't have been like, oh, that sucked. That wasn't, connected. But the fact they did it was incredible. And the way they did it was one of the best moments in the entire game, which is when the Union Cross keyback cover characters come out through time as light to protect and help Sora. And I forget the character's specific name because he has a name. Ephema, that's it. Ephema shows up to help guard Sora and pretty much says, we're with you. And then the Keyblades of the Keyblade Graveyard get their light and power back, because they're all dead Keyblades. And a bunch of them get their light and their power back. Specifically, Ava's secret group. What, I forget, there's a name.
The Dandelions.
The Dandelions. I assume it's the Dandelions, that it's their Keyblades specifically, right?
Yes.
I assume there wouldn't be anyone else, because there's lots of different, obviously, unions, and not all the...
Oh, do you know what, actually? No, I think it's everyone but the Dandelions, because in the Union Cross story, the Dandelions, when the Keyblade War breaks out, they all go into a sleeping realm, I think.
Sure, okay, that makes... But then Ephema is one of the Dandelions.
Yeah, so in Union Cross, when the Keyblade War breaks out and the unions all clash, the foretellers are gone, supposedly dead. We found out obviously they're not dead.
So that's
and
what's...
everyone
Oh,
dies.
yeah, okay, I'm jumping ahead.
But
it made a lot of sense to me about the epilogue, actually. So when everyone thought they were dead, they actually were traveling through time the whole time.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And Ava and her Dandelions go to this sleeping realm. That's what they've been training to do. And the player of Union Cross, like you as the player and everyone else, goes to this. They've been trained to go to this sleeping realm when it breaks out, so that they can sort of carry on. So they're like the light for the future. I'm not sure where they are now, but that's a thing. And then Ephema, Larxene, and Marluxia's somebody, some dude in a hat, and Ventus are the and Skuld are the new union leaders in this dream world, where they basically relive out the events again, over again in this dream world, but they're the new union leaders. It's really fucking weird. I watched a recap and it confused the fuck out of me. But that's essentially what happens there.
Okay. So anyway, Ephema, the keyback cover character, comes out. All these lights come back to these Keyblades, and Sora rides a whole like army of Keyblades into battle against this tornado. And then the move you're using is just pretty much mashing triangle as like a special move. But each of the special moves' names is one of the names of usernames of the people that have played keyback cover. It's such a little touch, but it's so fucking amazing. And that's how you beat it. Use the Union Cross light Keyblades and characters to help Sora do that. What a special moment, man. What a special moment.
That was so great. When all the commands popped up and I was like, oh shit, those are all usernames. And those are all the people that played the game. Like, it makes it so connected. Because it's like, it's just so cool because it's, you know, Sora using the light of these past Keyblade wielders, and it's, you know, everything that anyone that played Union Cross or Unchained Key or whatever, and they've got their usernames now in Kingdom Hearts 3, as like, and it's like what they did helps Sora in a way. That's the sort of the way it feels, and it's really cool. I fucking love that connection. I love that. And it's the perfect place to do it. Like, it wasn't shoehorned in. It makes sense that the Keyblade Graveyard would be used. Like, rather than it just being a location, it's like, you know, there's still light there that Sora taps into, rather than anyone else doing it because it's Sora and because he's special. And I loved all that. I thought it was bloody great. It was really good.
Yeah, tremendous. And then from there, what happens right after that? So the labyrinth is built. Finally, there's the face-off with the 7 Guardians of Light and the 13 Vessels of Darkness. Is that
first? The other Riku shows up with Xigbar, and then they have all of the Heartless show up, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we're gonna fucking lose." And then Yen-Sid comes down, and he's like, "Oh, it's some fucking magic."
Yeah, Yen-Sid. I forget about that moment. There's so many moments that happen in that. I forget that Yen-Sid fucking showed up because as soon as that magic came down, I was like, "Oh my god, is that fucking Yen-Sid?" That just showed up.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
So
finally, he's
awesome.
fucking
The music
doing
was
something.
great as well.
And to see how powerful he is.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then Donald and Goofy are like, we'll stay and fight with Yen-Sid and help him out. The rest of you go on. And they have that little exchange with Sora. Just a little bit of banter there. And then they all go on to the other part of the Keyblade Graveyard where you actually get the proper, like, you know, the 7 Guardians of Light, like, walking opposite the 13 Seekers of Darkness, and you get that shot of them like actually in the Keyblade Graveyard, all opposite each other, ready to sort of battle it out, which was fucking awesome.
And just to see Sora like front center in that, I'm like, oh yeah, what a cool moment. Like, how good was Sora in this game, though? To be fair,
he was amazing.
This is the best he ever was. Like, just so cool to see how far he's come.
Yeah, it's like his development has been so cool as well because he's such like a strong character now that's willing to fight, but he's also retained that sense of like, I don't know, sort of like childlike innocence that was really important to his character in Kingdom Hearts 1. And I love that because it's that thing that keeps his heart like light rather than just being like another, like, you know, warrior or whatever. And I love that. I think it's great, and that's it's done so well in Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, I love playing as him. He's bloody great.
So when we get to this battle, right, the labyrinth comes up. What did you think of the structure of it? Because I loved the fact that it was individual, like it was like everyone's battling throughout this labyrinth, and you had to go, and you had kind of some choices of where you went first, of like which Guardians of Light you were going to help fight specific, you know, the Vessels of Darkness. And first up, you had the choice between Mickey or Riku, and obviously everyone picked Riku first, obviously.
Yeah.
Because fuck Mickey. So
he can hold himself.
Yeah. So you're Riku and you fight. Is it Xigbar and then also Riku?
Yes, Xigbar, Riku Replica, and Ansem Seeker of Darkness.
Yeah, well, and Ansem Seeker of Darkness for 30 seconds.
He fucks off. Yeah, he fucks off.
Yeah. So it's really just.
But yeah, Xigbar and Riku, the other Riku, bad Riku.
What overall this whole section? Did you like that the way that they did this as like the battle of the, you know, the Keyblade War, the battle between the light and the dark, the 13 versus the 7? Are you did you enjoy the whole sequence? It was like 2 hours, 3 hours long.
Because I expected, I was like, how are they going to do this? There's 13 Seekers of Darkness. You've got the 7 Guardians of Light. Are they just going to clash in a big open space? Like, I wasn't sure how they were going to do it, and I think they handled it really well, because they allowed you to have those individual close boss battles that we've known from Kingdom Hearts and that are done really well, at the same time as also making it quite a spectacle. And I think that the compromise of how they structured it was done really well, and I really fucking like that. And all of
and it also gave
the
each
Seekers of
character
Darkness were put in the right place. Like, they all got their own little story moments. Yeah, it was done really well.
Yeah, 100% agreed. 100% agreed. Yeah, and like you said, the specific darknesses versus certain lights were what worked really well, and it gave everyone a chance to get their own shine, their own story moment. Both the lights and the darks, everyone got to shine in this, and that was really nice to see, because we've seen all these characters, both the good guys and the bad guys, for so many years in so many games. It was great to see that every single character got their moment.
Yeah, I agree. And I noticed from these boss battles, playing them, there's a couple that I found quite challenging. The rest were pretty easy. Like, I didn't die on any of them. But I noticed that, especially watching my gameplay back, I noticed they're well made. And were there a critical mode, I reckon each of these would be really, really good. But playing on Proud and being, the level that I was, it was pretty much just hitting them with a Keyblade, maybe blocking sometimes, using a bit of magic. It was pretty easy for the most part, but when critical mode comes out, I reckon these final bosses are going to be really fucking good, because they were clearly made well. They had some really good moves. And
have you just recently watched it? Because you weren't saying that before. So have you just?
Yeah, I've got it up now. I'm looking at it now, and I'm seeing, like, when I was fighting Zigbar, like, he has his his shots come in. You have to block those, especially Dark Riku as well. That was a really good battle. Because I killed
lots of throwback abilities to Riku in the first game as well, which I loved.
Yeah, it's really cool. All of them had that, and I loved that. Like, it was all they weren't doing the same things, but all the moves were like, you've seen them do these things before, so that was really cool. And yeah, I think when the critical mode comes out, I think all of these final bosses are going to be really good to play, and they're going to feel really nice.
In terms of redemption moments, because every single one of these darknesses seem to have like redemption moments, or like come to of like who they really are, away from the darkness once they were defeated. Was there any that stood out to you as good or bad?
Okay. I think they were all pretty good, especially because I liked that Vanitas stayed dark. I liked that because he is darkness. So when he was like, when Ventus is like, no, you can, well, we should all get to choose, like, even you, and he's like, yeah, I did choose, and I chose darkness, and like, I liked that because it's like, that's good, staying true to his character. I liked what they did with Zigbar, the way it was really mysterious, and obviously it makes sense, with the final post-credit scene, why he was saying what he was saying when he was like,
I don't even remember what he was
saying.
This
is for the Keyblade. He says, he's like, the only reason I was in this was for the Keyblade, like, he says, like, oh, the old coot said he'd give it to me after he, forged the final key or whatever, and then he just, like, teleports up to the top of the thing and, like, falls off the edge. And that was really cool. I've always loved Zigbar so much.
He always has been a really interesting character, and I've always thought like he's strangely underused. Like hasn't always been treated like he's a really strong character, and I never knew why. Even though like he's placed in story wise like he's really important, but in terms of like as a boss, he's not really like ever a challenge. Like was something made to be really powerful. He's just like for some reason for the story he's really important. You never knew why.
But he always survives. He always comes back. It's so weird. Every time you defeat him, he never dies. And I guess obviously now we know why he's so powerful. But I loved that, and I loved I think all of the fights were really fun. I loved the moments actually with the organization members when the original organization, when you got Larxene, Marluxia, Luxord, and
Luxord was the best. Luxord was the best one, I thought.
I loved that one so much because I never saw Luxord as a bad guy. I mean, none of the organization members were bad guys. It's just when they became nobodies and, they were doing these bad things because that was their life and they've been, tricked by Xemnas and stuff. And then especially at this point when they've got Xehanort's heart in them. When you defeat them and you see that, like, that darkness has been lifted and the Xehanort's heart is gone and it's just, like, them returning to their somebody form, you get those heart-to-heart moments with all of them, and I love those moments. I thought they were done so well. You get it with Luxord, Larxene, Marluxia, Syx, and they were really great. Especially Luxord's. I really like Luxord's, and I hope he shows up again. His somebody, anyways, shows up, and you know, do a little card mini game in the next hub world where you can just play Luxord at cards. That'd be great. That'd be epic.
That would be epic gaming. In terms of you said Sykes, you know, that was a really good one. But what that moment really was you go to help Kyrie and Lee battle Sykes and Xemnas, and we get, and also who was clearly and pretty obviously Shion. Now that builds to one of the best moments for me and one of the most emotional moments, which was the reunion of the 358 characters that all came together, and Roxas's return to the world and everything like that. Like, in terms of that was done, you loved it too. Like, that was one of the best moments.
Yeah, that's one. That, like, potentially my favorite moment of the whole game. Like, especially that moment when Lee is fighting and Xemnas like grabs his Keyblade and like throws him to the floor. I genuinely thought Lee was gonna die.
Yeah.
I was like, what if Lee fucking dies? And that's what brings Roxas back, is Lee dying. But it was, you know, that moment of Lee about to die, which is what brought Roxas back in the end. And that whole moment, that whole sequence, I loved it so much. Like, Lee in this game has been fantastic. Lee in Dream Drop Distance was fantastic. Like, I love him as a character.
Lee in just general is fantastic as Axel to Lee. Like, as he's incredible.
He's always been amazing.
But it's also why, like, I bet you anything, Lee, Axel, whatever you want to call him, was never supposed to be one of the Guardians of Light in the original plan. But he was so popular with fans that they're like, yeah, we have to put him in. That's what I think.
You got to change
because he was never meant to be as important as he was, but he's so popular. He's been so well done, so well performed, that he is one of the best characters. Lee is like the Deadpool of the universe. He breaks the fourth wall so many times. Like, it's hilarious. And he even says, like, when you think he's about to die, he goes, he's like, do you understand how many people are rooting for me? You're not going to... No one acts as Axel. And I'm like, that's so funny. And even just later on where he goes, oh, sorry, we're just ironing out a few plot points, like when everyone gets together.
Yeah,
like,
I love him so much. He's one of the best characters.
He's so great.
I can say that about every character, though. Yeah. Every character is one of the best characters. They're all great. Yeah. But in that scene, one of my favourite moments is when Shion starts hitting Sora, and Sora's just blocking a Keyblade, and like he starts crying because I guess that's Roxas. Yeah. Roxas's heart in him. And he's like just saying, it's all right, you can stop now, it's okay. And like that moment, that's where I lost it. Like I broke down there.
Oh, did you? No, I didn't there. I did when...
Because I was like... Because it was like Roxas inside him, like crying. Like doesn't want to fight back at Shion. And then it's, just after that when Xemnas goes to kill Lee, that Sora starts to glow, and then you get Roxas's heart fly out and then crash down with like smoke everywhere. And as the smoke clears, because it was so fucking good, because you just see his Keyblades, and it's like, oh shit, it's Roxas. That moment.
I do want to point this out, because both Ventus and Roxas are voiced by Jesse McCartney. I want to give a big credit to Jesse McCartney for playing both Ventus and Roxas differently.
Yes, I didn't know they were the same guy until I
Did you not know
looked
that?
it up recently.
Oh no, I always knew that. I always knew it was Jesse McCartney played both of them, but like in the one game, he performed them like they're like clearly these are different characters. They look the same, have the same voice, but he did it well, where they had different demeanors, and clearly
really did.
Based on the way they it wasn't like he did a different voice for each of them. It's the same voice, but based on who they are as characters, they talk certain ways.
Yeah, it's sort of like, in a way, I mean, it's a bit different, but it's sort of like with Vanitas and Sora. They're both, bloody, what's his name? Shit, what's Sora's voice actor's name?
Haley Joel Osment?
Yes, Haley Joel Osment, yeah.
Osment, yeah.
They're both, it's both Haley Joel Osment, but he just does it differently. Like, it's a bit different, more different, because obviously he's doing like an evil, dark, sinister voice when he does Vanitas, sure. But it's still the same guy. And Roxas and Ventus are slightly more similar. But I thought, because I always knew Jesse McCartney did Roxas, but I wasn't sure if he did Ventus as well. So I looked it up the other day, and I was like, oh shit, he does. Yeah. Like I always just saw them as different. Like I always heard them differently as well, although they do have very similar voices.
Yeah, they have the exact same voice.
He just does it slightly differently.
Yeah, it's the same guy, but he just...
Yeah, it's the same, but...
Yeah, So I just wanted to say that I was really impressed because I always thought they pretty much sounded the same but slightly different. But I really noticed the difference in 3 with how he was performed, and based on like the demeanor and the personalities of Roxas and Ventus, they talk slightly differently just because of that, not because he was like trying to do a different voice to make it sound like a different person. He was just doing it because, well, Roxas talks like this because Roxas is this sort of person. Ventus talks like this because he's this sort of person, but they have the same exact voice, you know? So I just liked the way it was performed. I was really impressed. And that whole scene, where Roxas comes back, he has Oathkeeper and Oblivion, and you battle alongside Shion and Roxas. I saw was so incredible, and then at the end they all hug and cry together, the 358 characters, and then I start crying. I was like, fuck, what a moment. What an amazing moment that had to happen. I'm so glad it happened.
It was absolutely fantastic. That's the scene where Roxas like stands opposite Xemnas and basically like takes center stage. Like Sora's sort of in the background. Yeah. And Roxas really gets his moment to shine. Was so fucking good. Like, I just loved seeing him properly like stand up and fight, because you never really see that a lot in the older Kingdom Hearts games. Like in 358, you see a lot of him sitting on a clock tower eating ice cream, but this you really get to see Roxas in action. It was great. Yeah. And also I'd like to point out that's also the scene where Xemnas just grabs Kairi and she does nothing. Yeah. She's just holding her Keyblade and she's like, oh shit, I guess this is happening again. I guess I'm being kidnapped again. All right. See you later, guys.
Fucking Kairi. But one of the next scenes, which is arguably, I'll tell you what, way more emotional, like I said, with the Aqua Return to the Light and Ventus than the 358 characters. But the next would be like the 358 characters reuniting. Didn't have as much of an effect on me, but still had an effect on me, was the Birth by Sleep characters reuniting. Now, granted, that battle was more important to me because I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to fight Terranaut and Vanitas as Sora alongside Aqua and Ventus. That to me was some fucking crazy shit. That was my favorite battle. But like once
I also died on that boss as well.
Yeah, well, you suck. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I'm playing on harder difficulty, you fucking noob.
Noob implies that I'm new, but I've been playing Kingdom Hearts since you were fucking sucking on your mother's tits.
People would think it. They would think
shut
they wouldn't
your
know.
Dumbass mouth.
From watching you play, they'd be like, "Oh, did you just buy the game today?" Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Fucking noob.
Idiot. Fuck. Anyway, so aggressive to each other sometimes. Just so aggressive. It's only about Kingdom Hearts, though. We get, like, so aggressive about it.
It's like, great.
The insults start flying. Yes, but once Terra's back, like, I was like, oh, that's cool, they're all united. But, like, I've already have Aqua and Ventus, so I'm kind of like, I like Terra a lot. But I was kind of like, yeah, that's cool. I was like, this is...
I liked him way more in this game, because I hated Terra in Birth by Sleep. I thought he was an idiot.
Yeah,
because he has the same story as Riku, where he's manipulated by the darkness, but the difference is Riku's a child, and then he comes around and becomes the best character ever. Yeah. Terra was a grown man, and he was manipulated time and time again by Maleficent and Xehanort to be evil. What an idiot. What a fucking idiot. Yeah. It's his fault he ended up as fucking one of Xehanort's vessels. Yeah. Moron.
He knows that. He knows that.
Yeah, but he's way better in this game. I absolutely loved him coming back. And one of the moments which I thought was insane is because when I was replaying Dream Drop Distance, I remembered a theory that everyone had, was that, which actually ended up happening in Kingdom Hearts 3, which is that the Guardian that Terranaut and Ansem both have, that big heartless thing, was Terra. That was a theory that people had for ages, because in Dream Drop Distance, when Riku, when you defeat Ansem Seeker of Darkness in Dream Drop Distance, you do phase 2 and he's gone. That boss battle that I found really fucking hard. The Guardian starts like evaporating, and Riku holds out his Keyblade, and the Guardian puts his hand out too to like hold the Keyblade, because he gave Riku, like Terra gave Riku the power of the Keyblade, so it's like it's his Keyblade. Yeah. And everyone thought that meant he was Terra, and then in this game it ended up happening that the Guardian actually is Terra.
Yeah, that moment
was so fucking cool.
Like, it took me a minute to realize. Like, I knew that what they were doing was Terra, but then I didn't really think about it all. It was like, oh, he's just Terra now. But I thought about it like a couple minutes later, going like, wait, no. So he was Terra the whole time. Like in Kingdom Hearts 1, when you're battling Secret Darkness and the Guardians there, that's Terra.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's so fucking crazy. What a great, like, cool fan theory that ended up being true. Like,
yeah.
like,
I'm really happy that ended up being true because it's really cool.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That's so fucking awesome. Oh, that's cool. Fucking hell. Yeah, especially because Ansem's Guardian's such a significant figure as well. Like, it's not just like some heartless. Like, that's such a significant character that's in all of the games. So, and I always did kind of wonder, I was like, man, they really make this Guardian fucking important. So it made sense that he's always there. I'm like, I kind of thought they'd forget about him. Like, I always thought he was just like a phase of Ansem in the first game, but I'm like, man, they really keep bringing him back. They really kind of like this fucking...
Yeah, like it's a character, not just like an attack.
Yeah, that's what I always thought was weird. I always thought it was weird, to be honest. I was like, oh, I guess so. I guess they're going to keep bringing it back. But then for there to be a real payoff to what that Guardian was is... I never knew I wanted that, but it gave it to us, and it gave it to us in the best way possible. It was great. And, Terra's back, and the Birth by Sleep characters got to reunite, which was really cool, really special. Yeah. But I realized once, like... I don't know what it was. Like, we both love Aqua. And she was great in this game too. I think I like her more than Riku. Like, I think Aqua's like my second favorite character. I really had, like, there's a couple of moments in this where, like, Sora, Riku, and Aqua were going to go off together and do things like the three of them are like, we'll go. And everyone else is going to stay behind. I'm like, oh, that's so fucking... The three best characters. Just the three best fucking characters together. What a cool moment. What a cool fucking moment. And... all the characters need to rest up. I did laugh because I'm thinking all the characters after these battles are like, oh, you need to rest. Here's Sora beating everybody's ass, doing most of the work and going like, you guys rest.
He does everything.
I'll keep going. Sora does fucking everything. What a fucking
You didn't
hero.
need 7 Guardians of Light. You just need Sora.
Well, that's kind of what's implied with the next generation, right? It's like, it's just Sora who's going to verse everybody. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck everybody else. Just be Sora by himself. It'll be fine. As long as Donald and Goofy are there, then I'm all set. Man, but yeah, so all the battles kind of go down, and then we get the final battle with young Xehanort, Ansem Secret Darkness, and Xemnas, and you've got Sora, Mickey, and Riku. That was a fun fucking battle. That was really good fucking battle. Something
else I noticed here, I don't know whether it's on purpose, but it almost felt like it, is Xehanort. Because Sora's like, oh, where's Kairi? And Riku's like, oh, is she in trouble? And then Sora's like just does like an angry grunt and gets his Keyblade out. And Xehanort's like, oh, he says, settle down, boy. And then Sora says, like, it's Sora, really angrily. And that reminds me of Kingdom Hearts 1 when you first show up in Traverse Town and you talk to Sid and he calls you boy and he's like, it's Sora. Like, it was the same thing, but it was just with Xehanort. I don't know whether it was on purpose, but I liked it regardless. I'm going to pretend that it was.
It was. That's funny. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's cool. That's funny.
I like that a lot. But yeah, the final this battle here was one of my favorite ones as well. I think it was done really well.
And
I love
just to be
that they all had their different attacks and stuff.
I made sure I left Ansem to last because I just thought I remember like I'd beaten Xemnas, I'd beaten young Xehanort, and I was sitting there fighting Ansem Secret Darkness, thinking to myself, I'm 23 years of age. I'm still battling Ansem Secret of Darkness. How fucking... No, but I loved it.
When is this guy gonna die?
Yeah, I was like... I was battling this guy 17 years ago. Like, I'm still battling Ansem Secret of Darkness. This is fucking cool. I loved it. I was embracing that moment. Like, I've got to admit, like, you finished the game pretty quick. I took it really, really slow. I haven't really mentioned that. Like, I think part of the reason I really enjoyed this game a lot, maybe even more than you did, was I really just took it slow and just... I wasn't coming into this game... I think I came into this game differently. Like, you came into like, this is the combination of Kingdom Hearts. I can't wait to see how it ends. Let's get into it. I took it as, this is the experience I've been waiting for most of my life. Literally most of my life I've been waiting for this experience. All I want to do is enjoy this experience. It's not as much about the story. It's not as much about the critical thinking hat and the structure has to be good and the gameplay has to be spot on. All I wanted was to enjoy the experience for what it was. So I was willing to accept this game for whatever it was. So I think that actually is a big difference just in how I feel about this game to maybe everybody else. Because I really just took this as like, I'm a grown-ass man. I have a life. I have shit I do that's more important than video games. But this game... I don't care. I just want to enjoy it for whatever it is. Whatever this game has to offer, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to embrace it, do it slowly. So I got to this end bit, and I really, did certain things on purpose, like grinding and making sure before I even got to the Keyblade Graveyard, I had my 3 Keyblades that I was using the whole game fully upgraded. I was a high enough level. I did everything I wanted to do. And I, and I made sure I left Anthem Secret Darkness to last because I wanted to be sitting there and enjoy that moment. I'm like, I'm battling Anthem Secret Darkness in a brand new Kingdom Hearts game 17 years after I first battled Anthem Secret of Darkness. That's cool. That's just cool. Like, there's no two ways about it. It's just fucking cool. Yeah. And I just really enjoyed that moment. And then once you defeat him and the Keyblade's forged and Kingdom Hearts is, being corrupted by Xehanort, and then all the lights come together, like, I was just like, what? It was just, everything was so perfect. That whole section was so perfect. I couldn't have asked for it any better than what they did. They absolutely, the whole Keyblade Graveyard section, absolutely nailed it. Nothing was bad about it.
I think it was, yeah, you know what, yeah, I agree. I think it was perfect. It was brilliant.
But now we get...
What did you...
Oh, sorry.
First, what did you think about each of Young Xehanort, and... Oh, I actually have another thing to say about Young Xehanort, but I'll say that after. What do you think about Young Xehanort, Anthem Secret Darkness, and Xemnas's little, I don't know, I guess speeches they gave as you defeated them and they sort of went back to their own time? What did you think about
Young Xehanort's made sense because he was still, kind of talking to Sora about, there's consequences to what you're doing. There's consequences to, you battling this darkness and facing it all and sacrificing all that you're doing and saving all these people. Like, there's consequences. But then he just disappears to his own time, which is like, yeah, it makes sense. You've got to continue the timeline that happens inevitably anyway. Xemnas kind of... I don't know. Anthem's made sense because Riku's there. Like, that, I didn't mind, that he kind of has those moments of like... I was searching for this and this is why I was doing it. We've been through a lot, with Riku. Like, I there was a connection there, so I was okay with it. Xemnas, I was kind of like, it was all right. It was all right, but it didn't stand out to me. Xemnas has never stood out to me, to be honest, though.
Just like Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, I know, man. You're such a Kingdom Hearts 2 dick sucker, and I'm such a Kingdom Hearts 2 hater.
It's so weird that you don't like.
I love Kingdom Hearts 2. I love it, but like, it just, none of it was as special to me as everything.
Xemnas is great.
Yeah, no, like Anthem Secret Darkness is special to me because that's the first game. Xemnas was never as special to me as Anthem was. Never. Never was.
Yeah, look, Xemnas' little speech that he gave, I don't know, he turned into a bit of a pussy, to be honest.
Yeah, he did.
Xemnas was always like, a just fucking evil. Like, he didn't have feelings. He just fucking killed everyone. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, my feelings are hurt, Sora. Fuck, I don't know how I deal with this. I'm a little pussy bitch. I'm going to go cry about it.
But that was kind of everything. We'll get into Xehanort with the big thing you hated about it. But like, I just kind of looked at this whole thing as everyone kind of turning good and having that redemption, being like, they've been defeated by the purest of light that is Sora. If anyone can turn dark into light, it's him. Like, I just chalk it up to it being Sora more than it being they were all secretly good the whole time deep inside of themselves.
Yeah, but that's not what it was, though.
No, I don't...
It is. No. It was just that they were secretly good.
No, I think it was Sora.
It was,
Why?
Nah, it wasn't Sora.
It wasn't.
That's so dumb. That's just like...
But it's so Kingdom Hearts. That's what
you just
Kingdom
sound
Hearts
like an Assassin's Creed fan. Like, they haven't told me any of this, but I'm going to pretend it's this because I like it better. Like...
But that's who Sora is as a character.
Look, if it was Sora turning them to light, then fair enough, but it wasn't, so it doesn't matter.
Why wasn't it, though?
Because it doesn't make sense.
Well, how doesn't it make sense?
They also never explain it. Also, they go out of their way to make sure you know that Xehanort was never always evil.
That's
by having those
that's
flashbacks.
True. No, okay, let's we finished the Keyblade Graveyard.
Wait. Let me talk about. I just wanted to bring up. I think it's funny that young Xehanort actually has to do this 13 times. He goes back to his own time. He lives out his life. Fights the Birth by Sleep guys. Possesses Terranort. They all have to travel in time, and he has to do it 13 times because he splits his heart a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And I think that's really funny. And he never knows how it's going to turn out until he's his final self.
Yeah.
And then he loses anyway.
And then he loses.
So, there you go.
Because Sora is great.
Yeah. So because Sora is great.
So,
I mean, that's true.
so
that's true.
all the Guardians of Light stay back to, kind of save Kingdom Hearts from kind of falling to fucking ruins. And Sora, they all trap Xehanort in a different time. And Sora, thankfully as well, Donald and Goofy join him. In the final
can
battle.
we just talk about before that that moment when they're all together and all the Guardians of Light are standing together, and then Donald and Goofy walk alongside Sora, and then they all put their hands on top of each other, just like at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah.
You know what? They say three half pints together again, which was great. But I also would have loved if they'd said
all
for one for all. Yeah, if they'd have said that there, perfect. I would have forgiven everything. That would have been it. That would have been the best. But they didn't do that. So unfortunately, I got to be critical, Square.
Yeah.
It was still a great moment. It was a really great moment. And then
they nailed Donald, Goofy, and Sora together so well. This whole game, that was something that was just so good in every Disney one.
The best.
What a great the best of the dynamics of all the games. Just felt like the connections there. Like I love their band. It was just so perfect. Yeah. So fucking
so great.
Perfect.
It was almost like when you play Uncharted 4 or Uncharted 3 and all the characters come back together, like when you have Nate and Sully and Elena and they're all just having banter and you're like, they've had previous adventures. I've played those games. They're all having great fun.
Yeah.
Like it's good. That's what it was like. It was like, Sora, Donald, and Goofy. They know each other well. And you've played all those games and they've had all those experiences.
I love
it. They know each other so well and they just, they have a good laugh. It was great. I love that.
They've been through so much together. They had to be there for the final battle. They had to be there to face Xehanort. It couldn't just be Sora. As much as I'm like, it had to be Sora by himself. But to have Sora, Donald, and Goofy made sense.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
And the final bit from that moment before we get on to the next stage was when Sora, Donald, and Goofy go and they like hit Xehanort with their flying orb ball thing that they turn into, and then do their thing, and then all the Guardians of Light shoot their whatever it was, their Keyblade thing at Kingdom Hearts. It plays a really great piece of Dearly Beloved that I fucking loved. At that bit, I thought it was perfect for the moment, and then it's like, okay, Keyblade Graveyard is done, and then it pushes on to the next stage.
Yeah, what the fuck's that world called again? Because it's got a weird fucking name.
Scala Ad Kylum?
Yeah, something like
that. I think that's it. I've got my footage up, so I'll find it and I'll tell you. But yeah, that from the minute we see that world right at the beginning of the game, I was like, yeah, okay, we're gonna be going there at some point, because why would you show us this new place we've never seen before to then never use it? So I was like, we're probably going there at some point, whether it's, midpoint or whether it's the end of the game or whether it's just for a boss battle. I was like, we're definitely going to be going there at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was interesting. I think there's some bits about this world that aren't properly explained. I'm pretty sure it's connected to Daybreak Town in some way. From Union Cross Keyback cover.
Yeah, I thought it was too.
But they don't explain that at all. But I'm pretty sure it's connected to that place, which is interesting. Oh yeah, it is Scala Ad Kylum. I've got it up here. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's related to Daybreak Town, because there's that. I noticed it first when you go to the underwater section of the boss battle. It looked just like Daybreak Town, but like underwater.
Yeah.
Like the tower. Which was interesting.
I love the whole section. Like you battle, like, I guess the Organization 13 again in like this weird, like, because there's always, like, they always keep saying there's always backup plans. There's always backup plans for like the 13 Vessels of Darkness. So it's cool that you go to there and there's fucking another 13. It's like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like he's playing for everything. And the armor was really cool too. I really like that.
Yeah, it was all that stuff was really cool. I liked, pretty much. What
was
all of
your
this.
favorite? Because you told me you loved this battle. You told me how much you loved it before I played it.
Mm-hmm.
What did you like better, the last Xehanort or like Armored Xehanort?
The last Xehanort.
Xehanort.
Armored Xehanort was good as well, but the last Xehanort was better.
Yes, I agree.
Because it was just classic Kingdom Hearts. You're in a ring. You're on the ground. You're not floating or flying or in the water or whatever. Like, you're just on the ground. There is a boss, and it's not just like a big monster. It's a guy that's about your size, and you have to fight him. And you have to use, you have to block, you have to dodge, you have to glide, you have to use magic. There's certain gimmicks to it, like where he turns you into a dark Sora. You have to get your light back. It was so fucking good. I love that boss battle so much.
Great boss battle.
one of the best of the franchise. I loved it so much. It was literally on par with like the organization battles in Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, it was so good. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. It took me a couple of goes. Because I was playing on Proud, but once I got the hang of it, it was great. Like when he comes out of those little like doors of light, or the
hardest
keyholes
part
of light.
was the Dark Sora bit. Like, it was really hard because at first you're not even damaging him. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I noticed that. Yeah, I figured it out. Like I did it a couple times because that's the bit where I kept dying, and I was like, okay, I tried to figure it out, and I basically just did a lot of dodging, and then tried to get combos in where I could, and just kept doing it, and it felt so good. Like, it felt. Like, because the other Kingdom Hearts battles were like, I could sit here and master this, but it seems like just hitting him with my Keyblade seems to work in Kingdom Hearts 3. But this one felt like I had to master it and had to figure out what moves he uses, how I avoid those to be able to survive. And I really liked that because I didn't get a lot of that from the other bosses in the game.
I think I was prepared for that as well because you told me that, and I just was like going into it, I was like, okay, be ready to block, and like just straight I got him first try just because I kind of knew, but also
I mean, you're also over-leveled and playing on standard, so
for sure. Like, Harlan told me beat the game at level 35 on standard. I was like level 50. Like, I was so over-leveled, and I just like
43,
I destroyed Xehanort. Like, it took me 5 minutes, and I just fucking destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him. I was like, I should have played this on Proud. Like, I was just like, I just was so over-leveled.
Yeah. It felt good though, because it felt like a final boss. Like, I'm happy I died a couple times, because the thing I was most worried about while I was playing the game, I was like, I swear, if I defeat Xehanort first try at the end of this game, I'm gonna be really pissed off, and I didn't. And I was like, that's
the weirdest thing to think as a person playing a game. It's like, I hope I lose a lot.
Yeah, because I was like, I didn't necessarily want it to be like, Xemnas at the end of KH2 or Ansem at the end of KH1, where like I'm playing it for 3 hours and throwing my controller at the wall. Would have been great as well, but I'm happy I got like a sort of in the middle where, it took me a few goes, and I did get annoyed at it. I remember like I was wearing headphones playing it, so I had to take my headphones off to be like, fuck, because I didn't want to shout fuck too loud, because I couldn't hear myself properly, but I wanted to shout fuck at the appropriate volume. But I remember being pissed off at it, so that was good. I'm glad that it got me a little bit pissed off.
Classic Kingdom
That's
Hearts.
all you can ask for. Yeah, classic Kingdom Hearts. But that was all really great. You know what, talking about this, I love all of this up until the moment you defeat Xehanort.
Okay, so everything about, like, from the moment you finish Big Hero 6 to the moment you defeat Xehanort, perfect, right? Perfect.
Yes, I agree. Perfect.
Amazing. Everything.
Even after that, perfect. Because I loved where Sora's talking to Xehanort. The only thing I didn't necessarily love was the whole Xehanort basically being Thanos and being like, oh, I'm actually doing this for the good of the worlds and stuff in a weird, twisted way. Because that was never alluded to before. It was a very obvious retcon. And they could have done stuff to flesh that out beforehand. Like, it could have been done if they wanted to do that and tell that story and be like, oh, actually, he wasn't always bad. And, there was, because I was really attached to this evil, dark character of Xehanort that in Birth by Sleep was just, he wanted to spark a Keyblade war, and he was willing to kill so many people and plunge so many worlds into darkness, and split his heart into 13 pieces just out of curiosity as to what would happen to the world. It wasn't even for power. It wasn't even to get the Keyblade so that he could have power over the worlds. It was just to do it and see what happened if he summoned Kingdom Hearts. And I thought that was so fucking good. And there was still that element to it. But to alter it slightly and have him go, oh yeah, there's too much darkness, like, oh, it's spread over the worlds like a plague, and plunging and opening Kingdom Hearts and plunging the worlds back into pure light. Although it will destroy the worlds and everything, it's it'll be better for the worlds because darkness is bad. And it was weird because I always thought he thought darkness was good, and he loved darkness, and he wanted to be pure darkness and stuff. He just wanted to do it because he was like, that'd be fucking fun to see what would happen, if I did another Keyblade War. But they changed that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did change it. Yeah.
I really don't like about it. It's just one of those things. It bothers me so much when I think about it. I can get over it slightly because it's such a small thing, and the victory still felt deserved, and it still felt like a victory.
Yeah. But you're right. Like, I do agree with you that they did change that, and it wasn't the right call. He didn't need a redemption. He didn't need that. He didn't need to have a redemption moment where that happens. But I guess they had this idea of what they wanted to set up next. And they wanted to use this young Xehanort and young Ericus chess game to do it. And if it was going to work that way, young Xehanort had to actually be good the whole time. But the only reason I accepted that, right, because I would have been... The only reason I accepted it, because you have that moment with young Xehanort saying, like, look, Ericus, you're going to be the one that's picked, but I'm going to be by your side. Like that moment. Mm-hmm. The only reason I'll accept that, and even, like, I still think it's not great. I'm okay with it. Like, I didn't upset me or anything like it upset you, but I agree with you are right. But in terms of yes, it's a retcon, but they always had, and Harlan kept mentioning it to me, he's like, young Xehanort has grey eyes in the chess game. Always did from the first trailers of 3. Yeah,
he did.
And like, whereas like young whereas young Xehanort and like Dream of Distance, that young Xehanort has the yellow eyes. So it's like clearly something happened to him. And I was like, oh, I guess they're going to explain in this game what happened. It's like, they don't explain what happened. You just know that something happened that he actually was good before. He had his curiosities, but he was good. And something happened where he fell into darkness. We don't know where that happened. It's not necessarily important where it happened, but it happened, and that's what spawned everything. And then I guess once he's defeated, he goes back. I don't know. It's weird. And the fact that it kind of makes sense that the whole time in Terra's heart was Ericus as well. So Ericus comes out and Mark Hamill's fucking back as well.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But look, the thing is with that, I would have accepted either of these things. I would have accepted he actually all the time did want to bring the world back to light, and he's doing it in this weird fucked up way because he's a fucked up guy, like sort of like Thanos. I would have accepted that on its own. And I also would have accepted on its own him, having his little redemption where he concedes, and then you see him like, turn back to a kid, and it's like, actually he was always good, but he got fucked up. But in either of those ones, in that one where he turns into a kid, I think he should have always been. I don't think there should have been that weird, alternate motive. And I think if we'd have had just the alternate motive, he should have fought until his last breath, and Sora should have defeated him because now he's pure darkness. Having both of them, I think, is what pissed me off, because you have him have this weird motive, but then also he has like this redemption. Then he ends up like, oh, he was always good, and now like he turns into a kid and flies away with Eric. Like, you know what? That is the one that pisses me off the most. I think that's the thing that pisses me off the most.
That he flew away with Ericus. Yeah,
he had this happy ending. It's like, he's a cunt.
Yeah,
he's an awful person. He's done so many horrible things, and you're just gonna let him be like, you know what, you win. I'm gonna run away like a coward and just have a happy ending. Is that alright? Like, no, it's not alright. You should be dead. Like, I mean, he is dead, but like, you should be obliterated. Like,
I do agree. I just with that,
like,
for sure.
Like I said this to you, I think my perfect ending would have been if everything had played out the same, except when Ericus comes out, he doesn't go, it's alright, come on, let's go now, lad, let's, whatever. If Xehanort had still been fighting, and Sora was like, you're beat, like, come on, you need to give up, and Xehanort was like, no, fuck it, I'm not giving up. And then, Ericus comes out, and then he's like, trying to persuade Xehanort, but Xehanort is too far gone, and then Ericus gets out his Keyblade and like shoots a thing at him, and he just turns into like little particles of dust, and it's like little sparkly bits, and just sort of flies off into the air. And Ericus is sad, and everyone's a bit sad because they knew Xehanort was a good guy when he was a kid, but unfortunately, he was too consumed by darkness at this point in his life. That would have been great. That would have been a good ending. It would have felt like everything we were doing was for to get rid of this darkness. But it turns out the whole time, if you bash him with a Keyblade long enough, he'll just put the Keyblade down and go, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you won. That's all right. Like, that's what he did. It was such an odd, so strange.
Yeah.
He never did that in Birth by Sleep either. Xemnas had never done that. Ansem Secret of Darkness had never done that. Like, we've never seen this from Xehanort. Any of his forms, we've never seen him concede or, act in any way apologetic or be like, yeah, you know what, you won. Like, he's always fought as much as he possibly can. Like, he fought so hard that he put his heart into someone else and then split his heart into a heartless and a nobody just so they could both be defeated and he could come back. Just so there could be 3 more versions of him around. Like, he went through all that trouble. Like, why would he just give up now? and it was such a strange decision to me. It's the only thing I really, really dislike. But other than that, everything else is perfect. And it really bothers me. It just feels out of character, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. I do think you're right.
But I don't think that takes away from how brilliant the game is, and I don't think it takes away from Sora's victory against Xehanort and against the darkness and winning and closing Kingdom Hearts, and, I don't think it takes away from that. No. I think it just takes away from Xehanort being Xehanort. That's the only thing.
Yeah. I agree.
Devalues his character slightly. But, I still loved the victory. I loved the battle. I loved the moment where, they're all there and they've got to close Kingdom Hearts or whatever they fucking do. And then, and then the game sort of
I don't think there was any emotional moment, though. Like, all my emotional moments from the Keyblade Graveyard, I didn't get emotional at anything in that final battle or at the ending with Xehanort up until the end, Because then the next thing that happens is everyone's alive except Kairi, and Sora says to them, because when they all say it's over, we did it, and Sora goes, no, it's not over, and I'm like, yeah, there has to be some sort of, because the only thing I didn't like was like, you can't all just live, like it's like if Endgame happens and everyone survives, no one dies, Cap survives, Tony survives, I'd be like, wait, what? What's the consequence? What did it cost? Should cost you a lot to have defeated the greatest darkness to the worlds have ever seen. And, it did. It cost Sora Kairi, which ended up costing Sora his life that he gave for Kairi. Because he was using that, I guess, power of waking, I guess, or,
Yeah, I guess that's what he was doing.
Yeah, but it's like young Xehanort said, if you keep meddling with that and going too deep, you won't be able to come out, and that's what happened. And you have this scene where everyone's kind of playing together, but there's moments where the 358 characters are all together on in Twilight Town on the tower, but they're in regular clothes, and then Syx comes back, or Isa comes back, rather, and then Hina Penso Let's show up. Like, it was just cool. They all got together. The Birth by Sleep characters are back in the Land of Departure, and they kind of have a memorial for Master Ericus.
They put the Wayfinders on Ericus's Keyblade.
So
that was great. That was really good. The Chirithy shows up, and do you know what? In that moment, because that Chirithy is Ventus's Chirithy from Union Cross. Does Ventus remember the Chirithy, or is he just picking it up because it's a nice little animal? What do you think?
I think he's picking it up because it's a nice little animal.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Maybe you'll learn about that. That'd be a cool story to tell. Is Ventus actually remembering what happened prior to Birth by Sleep? I'd like to see all of that linked together, maybe, because that would explain it more as well. Because I'd like to understand why Ventus is in both.
Yeah. It doesn't make
that'd be
sense.
Good. I liked seeing Disney Castle as well.
Is it a time thing? Do you reckon?
Time? What do you mean?
With
like
Ventus,
time travel?
Yeah, because Ventus doesn't really remember much.
I don't think so.
You know what I mean? Okay. And then
because you have to have a vessel for time travel, like that's already there.
Yeah, true. I don't understand it. I don't understand time travel at all. Like you said, Disney Castle, and
that was great.
Minnie and Daisy.
Together.
Yeah, that was cool. And then everyone on Destiny Island just playing together, and it being all
you have
great.
Namine wake up first.
Everyone's there. Oh yeah, Namine, whatever. Somehow she woke up before Kairi was back, or whatever. If that makes sense.
No, Kairi was already back at that point.
No, she wasn't. Destiny Island was the last thing.
Yeah, but I know, but Kairi was probably already back though. Maybe I don't know. Anyways,
let's pretend she was.
Roxas just came out of Sora's heart when he needed to. Fuck it, it happens. I don't know.
Yeah, but Kairi was dead.
That's the one I'll let go.
Maybe Namine come out of Kairi's heart because she died.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Kari's heart must have gone somewhere, so Namine's heart probably did as well.
Sure, we'll just pretend that's what it was.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. So then Riku looks up at the tree, the Paopu tree, and he sees Sora and Kairi sitting there. I just love that it was Riku that's the only one that looked over. And Riku saw them, and then they're holding hands. Kairi looks at him.
At this bit, right, yeah. I was already crying at everything that was happening. I was I was crying, and I was like, oh, wow, he found her. Everything's good. Everything's ended. That's great. I'm so happy. I was crying, and then the camera pans out, and Kairi starts crying, and I'm like, oh no, what happened? What the fuck is going on? And then you just see Sora vanish, and then it cuts to black. And I was like, No.
And then the
no,
game ends.
I'm already fucking crying. What have you done? And I was losing my fucking mind. And then the credits start playing, and I was like, what the fuck? Why would you do that to me? Why? Everything was fine. Everyone was happy, and I'm so upset. But I also loved it as well.
Yeah, because I think I wasn't that emotional about it. Because I think I had a break. I had like a day break between. I finished Keyblade Graveyard, and then like 24 hours. Then I just did the Xehanort battle in like an hour by itself. So I'd already I'd already been kind of emotional. And then I'd already kind of settled in, so I knew everyone was alive. And then the ending was just what it was. And then everyone's on the island together playing. I kind of thought it was a bit... I love the fact that Kingdom Hearts is very cheesy. I love that about it. But like the fact that everyone was just happy and alive and together, I was kind of like, okay. I expected it to be a little darker than that. I expected there to be more consequence to this. And then Sora went away, and I was like, oh, wow. But I accepted that. Because I was like, yeah, that should happen. Someone had to die. And the fact that Sora died...
I love it. I love it.
The fact that Sora died made sense. But at
like...
the same time, man, Sora's not dead. Like, he's died, but we know that Sora's coming back.
No, obviously. Yeah, of course. But it's that in that moment, it was like, oh shit, okay. There's more to this than just everyone's happy and on the island together. And I like that it was Sora as well. Because it's like, you know, everyone had a happy ending, except for Sora, who's, you know...
But he saved Kairi. I love that. Like, it makes me sad even thinking about it. That like what he started is, like you said, my journey started when I lost Kairi, and you know I have to get her back. And
yeah, it's like the same because it's the same as Kingdom Hearts 1. Like he got Kairi back and she's back on Destiny Islands, but Sora's not there. Yeah, it's like it's the same, himself, and he's stuck somewhere, but he's also without Donald and Goofy.
I promise. I know you will.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but he's without Donald and Goofy this time. He's completely on his own, just somewhere, you know, he doesn't know where he is. And that's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. But obviously as well, this ending, right, where you see Sora disappear. I think we're both on the same page that he didn't actually disappear, right? Correct. Like he was never actually there. Like
yeah, correct.
It was just Kairi. Okay, because people keep saying this to me, like, because I was talking about it on in the Discord. We have a KH3 spoiler chat on the Discord. Talking a bit about it, and everyone was trying to convince me and trying to say, no, Sora was there, he just disappeared.
No, that doesn't really make sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. How does he get there? No, like, I think maybe Kairi saw him and Riku saw him, but it wasn't really him. You know what I mean? Like, it was their hearts and their connection to him that they could see him there in that moment.
Yeah, maybe. I think it was just symbolism. I think
it was a symbolism thing.
They're both imagining him there, but he's not there. They both know he's not there.
I think his presence was there in their hearts, like, because that's what Kingdom Hearts is about. It's all about the hearts and everyone's connection and hearts. But the actual Sora was not there.
They know he's gone, and they know they need to find him. So
yeah, and it's not Kairi fucking finding him. Kairi's fucking useless cunt, so she's not finding him. It's Riku. It's Riku that's gonna go find him. Thankfully, a straight white male will go do the man's work. Thankfully,
thank fucking god. Oh, do you know what I noticed? Are there any black characters in Kingdom Hearts?
Well, no, they're all kind of Asian. Like when you think, like Sora's not white, really. Like,
oh yeah, you're right. They're all Japanese, aren't they? Because it's all like anime.
Yeah. Like when you think about it, they're kind of like white mixed with Japanese in some weird cartoon way. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the only like any other characters of any other ethnicities you have are in Disney worlds because those were in that's who they were in the Disney worlds.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
only black people are the pirates, like extras.
Yeah.
The credits roll. Great credits, like have beautiful music.
Yes.
Because we got before the credits roll, we got the amazing orchestra version of Simple and Clean. Then we get Don't Think Twice. Amazing whole section. Credits end.
Don't Think Twice. Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, in my head, this is what I'm thinking, because I thought everything was going to everything was getting wrapped up. And all I'm thinking to myself is, what the fuck happened to the box? Maleficent and Pete did nothing in this game. And I was like, what the fuck? I was sitting there like, what the fuck? So Maleficent and Pete, there's no box, what the fuck? And then you see Keyblade Graveyard, and I'm like, okay, something, obviously the epilogue's about the box, and something's happening with the box.
Mm-hmm.
And then Maleficent and Pete, I guess, will just be there to watch it, so they'll be in the future. So And then
yeah, that was really weird. That, you know what, that was a storyline I felt was odd, because they made it out right, like throughout the whole game, that the box would be a huge part of this game, and that Maleficent and Pete would be very present because the box would be important, but it wasn't. Their storyline was continually through the game. But
they just wanted to make you think it was important, to make you think about the box, to make
relevant.
the end more impactful, to make it be like, no, you gotta understand, shit is going down in the future, not just...
That's what... Now, I tell you something, right? Because, okay, so I'm going to make it... hang on, I have like 6 things to say.
Yeah, I was going to say...
Yeah, let me just calm down. I'm having a fucking stroke.
Take a breath. Holy shit.
Okay, so I think in the future with Kingdom Hearts games, I don't think I'm going to watch a lot of trailers, because something that I've noticed with this game is I knew everything that was going to happen, apart from this ending scene, and it's probably my favourite scene of the game, because it was a shock. Because it was like a classic Kingdom Hearts plot twist moment, and I loved that, and I was like, I want all of the game could have been that if I'd watched like barely any of the trailers. And I think that I'm going to probably make a point in the future for Kingdom Hearts 4 or whatever comes next to not watch a lot of the trailers, because
I was job to talk about this stuff, but yeah, you're not a regular
I'll watch
fan,
I'll watch a few, but you know, I was confident that Nomura wasn't putting out stuff that was big, huge plot
I wasn't.
points.
I never was. I told you that. I said I'm not confident of that.
I thought if you're putting these out in trailers, there's got to be surprises, but there were no surprises
Not a lot.
at all.
Not a lot. No.
Maybe two or three. And this final credits ending was one of those scenes, and I fucking love this scene.
No, they gave away so much in the trailers, and I was saying this. I kept saying they're showing too much.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no, there's more surprises. I'm like, I don't think there are. What the fuck's they gonna be?
Yeah, you're right. You're right, though.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. Because I think that that might be another reason why I feel the way I do about the game, because none of the moments were surprising to me. It was always,
like Aqua
obviously I knew this was going to happen.
Ordered and stuff like that was totally not a surprise. Roxas being back, not a surprise. In a trailer, you see him. All those things. It was ridiculous. I didn't even understand why. Like, why would you show that in a trailer?
I found out because I watched the final battle trailer recently. I didn't watch it. They spoiled playing as Riku in a trailer.
They did, and that's, oh my god. That's the thing. Remember the thing I kept saying? Oh, I can't say that. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It was that you play as Riku. It was that you play as Riku. Because I was like, I'm not sure if you've seen that trailer, man. I'm not sure if you know that. And you're like, oh, then don't say it. It was that you play as Riku. That was what I was going to spoil for you.
There was no need for them to do that. It was one clip of Riku fighting some shadows.
Yeah.
There was no need to spoil that in a trailer. That was not a good enough clip that you had to spoil that in a trailer. Why don't you just save that for the game? So much of this could have been saved for the game.
So was that a nice surprise for you when you played as Riku?
Yeah, that was great. I was like, oh shit, this is awesome. That was great.
Cool. Well, see, I knew that. I knew going in that was happening. And yeah, I tried to make sure I didn't spoil that for you, because I almost did a couple times, because I thought you'd seen the trailer.
Thank God you didn't. Oh yeah, see, that was great. I loved that. See, that was one of the moments as well that I really loved, was playing as Riku, because I didn't know that we were playing. Like, although I had it in the back of my mind that maybe we'll get to play as Riku in this game, because we talked about it a lot. When it actually happened, I was like, oh, this is really cool. I really like that we're playing as Riku. And so that was great.
Yeah. So the epilogue, we see this person we've been waiting for a long time. Obviously, the end of Keyback cover, and we see it at the start of 0.2, Birth by Sleep and Fragmentary Passage. We have Shulu? Lushu, Jesus Christ.
Shulu, Shulu. Shulu, all right.
Shulu.
I've noticed you pronounce everything wrong.
I do.
Are you a real fan?
Dude, these names are
I tell you what.
Hard. These names are
Here's
so
another
hard.
one. Here's another one that I didn't know you were pronouncing wrong until you typed it out to me, because it sounded like, when you said it, it sounded right. Is the Master of Masters. You call him something else. Shit. I don't have the text messages up.
The Master's Master, is that what I say?
Yes, that's not right. I didn't know that's what you were saying.
Master of Masters rather than the Master's Master. But I get, like, all the letters are right. They're just in the wrong order. That's like anything. Even Shulu, it's Lushu. It's all the letters are there. All the letters are there.
Okay.
All the letters are there. I just ordered it wrong.
Let's call him Shulu.
Yeah. Dude, there's so many names. They're so fucking weird. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean when I say it.
Yeah, it's fine. So this final scene starts with the no-name Keyblade, Xehanort's Keyblade, flying down from the sky in the Keyblade Graveyard and planting itself in the ground.
Yeah.
which I just assume is the it must be the original Keyblade, which has the Master's Eye in it.
Yeah.
And then we see, which I loved how this scene looked, because you see Luxu pick it up, and you like see it as if you're him, like from inside the hood, and you see the hood flapping around.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. I thought that was cool. And so he picks up the Keyblade, and then you see the portals open, and you see the foretellers, except for Ava, the other foretellers from Keyback cover, walk out to meet Luxu, who's standing there with the Keyblade and the box in the Keyblade Graveyard.
What were your what was going through your head when they walk out? Because I'm sitting there thinking to myself,
I thought they were dead. I thought they were all dead. So I was
I was sitting there like, why are they here? How the fuck are they here? How are they here?
Yeah. Like, what is going on? Because I thought there was hundreds and hundreds of years between the key games and the normal Kingdom Hearts games.
But this is where time travel doesn't make sense, man, because their vessels weren't there. How the fuck did he
maybe it's not.
Teleport
maybe it's not time travel. Who knows? I mean, we don't know exactly what's going on here yet. And we also don't know the time gap either. There might not be as big of a time gap as we think.
But it's called the Ancient Keyblade War.
I know. What if, though? What if the reason they call it that is because they think it happened a long time ago? But really, as soon as the Keyblade War happened and Kingdom Hearts was opened and the world ended, the new world was born, and it's really not that long between that happening and where they were. Because I assume that when the light from Kingdom Hearts went everywhere and then it closed itself and everything and the world happened, I assume it's not like real life where it was just like a barren bunch of planets and like all these characters had to build things up and everything. All it did was split everything. And I guess like start everything from scratch, so I guess nobody remembered anything. So
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't buy that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Just a theory.
It's a theory. But when they walked through, I was like,
go.
okay, so they're time traveled here, obviously. But what is it? Like, I thought they were going to reveal the box, and obviously they didn't. But then we get the moment where Luxu starts talking, and they keep asking, like, what was your role? And I'm like, that voice kind of sounds familiar. And then he raises the hood, and it's Zigba or Braig.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fucking shit. Okay. Zigba the whole time. I guess it would have to be somebody. He's the one it made sense to be.
I really loved that so much. Because it makes so much sense. Because fucking Zigbar through all the Kingdom Hearts games has always seemed like such a sneaky little cunt. Like,
he's like the little finger of Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, he's always seemed like he's always got something up his sleeve. Like, there's always something he's not telling you. He's always seemed so like he's always got secrets. Like, I always felt that way about him. Like, I always felt like he was way more important than he was in the games. Who knows how long they've been planning this for? Regardless of that, it fits so well if it was something they did last minute. Because I don't think they've been planning this since like Kingdom Hearts 2. But it does fit with him. Like, it fits with his character, how he's always been. And I love that. Like, it makes sense that he's the one. And the thing is, like, so... Also, he says, like, he's had to change his form multiple times. Is that him planting his heart in other people? Or is that... is he, like, a shapeshifter? Because there was a bit of
I think it's
deliberation
him,
about that.
I think it was pretty obvious to me that it was him planting his heart because so much time had passed. Like, he was too old, he would die.
I thought that as well. Yeah.
And because he was what he was tasked with was to keep passing on the Keyblade and train people and have like an apprentice to pass the Keyblade onto. So he could keep seeing into the future. So the Master of Masters could keep seeing into the could keep seeing into the future.
Yeah.
And I think what Zigba did was just Luxu did. Was when he was too old, he put his heart into someone younger, just so it was him the whole time, rather than he had to train some apprentice. He just kept going forward.
I think so too. And at some point, he obviously gave that Keyblade to Xehanort for some reason.
Yeah.
And then with Zigbar, right? When do you think Braig became Luxu? Do you think he was always Luxu? Or do you think so? Like in Birth by Sleep, you think that was Luxu as well?
Yes, yeah, correct. Yeah. I think
and then he got naughted. So Luxu got naughted.
Yes.
And so at this point, he's Luxu, a nobody, and part Xehanort. At this point.
Yes.
which is mental.
Yeah, he's 3 different people at once.
He's all of those things. And so I guess what he did was, well, my theory was that I guess he kept putting his heart into new people. But then at some point he gave the Keyblade to Xehanort for some reason, and then became Braig so that Braig could become Xehanort's apprentice, basically, and then get the Keyblade back after the Keyblade War and after Kingdom Hearts had opened. Obviously, we don't know what the whole overall plan is, though. Like, was Xehanort starting a new Keyblade War and opening Kingdom Hearts part of the plan? Was
I guess so.
What
I think his
job.
Yeah, I guess so. I think his job was to observe. That's all the role was.
Yeah.
To observe.
Yeah. So they could get that book of prophecies.
And there was 7. He kept talking about 7. Like, there's 7 of us. And he goes, "What do you mean there's 6?" And he's like, "What? I don't count?" That's what the Master of Masters kept saying. So like, and it's even interesting in this epilogue with the next chess game, and young Erica says, "Oh, there's a new game," and there was 7 dark pieces, and what they are is it's Lushu, the Master of Masters, and the other Lost Masters. They're all the 7 darknesses, and then there's what we don't see if there's more than one light, but we see there's at least one light, and it's Sora's chess piece, is the piece he puts down. So we know that. And they keep asking, like, what's the role? And where's Ava? And Luciu says, she had a role to play. And that's why I think she's involved somehow in... Yeah,
he says as expected, Ava isn't here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's because she's gone. And, like, what we've discussed in this podcast is she was in the final world after, being involved with Lee and Isa. So, I think that's where Ava's involved in all of that sort of shit. Especially since, what did she tell the dandelions to? That's what they're called, dandelions? What the fuck are they called?
Yeah, the dandelions.
Dandelions. They're supposed to go into sleeping worlds or into... Yeah. So isn't that what she would be doing in the final world?
Potentially.
Yeah. But I think
that would make sense.
Yeah, so I think that's her. But I also think she's done other things as well, and that's what Lee and Isa are talking about. I think that makes sense, since they keep bringing up this girl that makes no sense. There's this other girl that somehow knows people and is involved, and maybe she's not even just talking about Isa that's lost, and it could be talking about Lushu. But, yeah, so that's why she's also not the one that's there and has some other role, so she's been doing stuff, so that's something that will come forth, and... The other Lost Masters keep saying, well, what's your role then? Because their goal was to stop the Keyblade War, but the Keyblade War happened after they died, they didn't actually die, they were transported through time. And then the Unions fought afterwards anyway, so they didn't even know the Keyblade War happened, really. They're just in the graveyard of it. And Braig, Lushu, Xigbar looks at the box and says, "I hope you like long stories." And it's just pretty much telling you, like, it's not over. There is a lot more story to go.
Yeah, and I like that it's not...
that. I love that.
I love that it's not just a new story. It's not like, here's the Xehanort saga done, here's a new story, and that'll be done. It's like, this is directly connected to what came before, and it's almost like everything that came before happened because of what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like, the
clearly,
Xehanort saga's
Lushu,
over. They did finish
the
that
Foretellers, the Master of Masters, clearly this was a plan. Clearly there was a reason for all of this happening, and now it's almost like the Master of Masters set something up in, the Age of Fairy Tales, back in key back cover. Everything led to eventually Xehanort's story unfolding, that involving Sora, Riku, Kairi, Lee, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, everybody. And then... It's like, now that's over, it's like now the Master and the Foretellers and Lushu can get back to what the real plan was. It's like, now that part of their plan is done, whatever's going to happen can begin, and that's going to involve Sora in some way, and all the other characters are going to get involved, and some shit is going to go down. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where they take this story, and it's also like... I feel like they can tell a more coherent story now, being that everything will be on the same platform, being that he has a plan from day one rather than sort of winging it because Kingdom Hearts 1 did so well. He's like, okay, maybe we should develop on it. I feel like Nomura knows exactly what he's doing and where he's going from here.
And I don't think there's going to be as much gap. We talked about this on Kill Connor Club. There's not going to be as much gap between... obviously, like Kingdom Hearts, the 13 years of Kingdom Hearts 2 to 3, there's not going to be like that for this. I'd say in 4 years, 5 years, we'll see another Kingdom Hearts installment on main consoles. I'm sitting here thinking about what's next, right? And I still think the Master of Masters is someone we know. I still think he's a person that it'll be a kind of time loop full circle sort of thing. There's a reason he wasn't revealed. The same way there's a reason Lushu wasn't revealed, because I think when they wrote Lushu, they knew who it was. Even though when they wrote Xigbar, they didn't know Xigbar would end up being Lushu, right? Like originally. But I think when they wrote Lushu, they knew it's going to be Xigbar.
What if the Master is also Xigbar?
No, that's
what if like
stupid.
Do you know what the weird thing is though? I always thought when I watched key back cover recently for KH3, I don't think it's connected at all. But I did think the Master sounds like Xigbar and acts like Xigbar. I was like, they're very similar characters. They're written very similarly.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought he was just like fucking. I thought like he was watching Deadpool, to be honest. Like that's what he always seemed like. I was like, is this Ryan Reynolds?
I love the Master of Masters so much.
So
he's
do I.
Such a
but
fun character.
Yeah, he is, and he's obviously going to be someone. I still have this feeling he's connected to Sora in more than we know. I think he's connected to Sora. That's what I think. I think he's
Sora's mother.
Finally, he's come to dinner.
Yeah, finally. That's what this is. The Master of Masters has just travelled through time. He set all this up because he wants Sora to come to fucking dinner.
Son of a bitch. Okay, so let's get to the secret ending. So that happens. We know the box has got a big role to play. Another fucking box. And all the Lost Masters and this new chess game with the Seven Darknesses, which is, the Master of Masters, and all the Lost Masters and Lushu. We then have the secret ending, which is Sora and Riku waking up in strange worlds. I assume they're different worlds. The one that Sora's in is the world where, I forget, it's another Square Enix game. What's the game called?
The World Ends With You.
The World
Shibuya in Japan.
Yeah, The World Ends With You, which we see the characters from that world in Dream Drop Distance and Traverse Town. So that world's come back. So I think that'll be involved. Then it's the world of the game that's in Toy Story's world. That's kind of like
Rex, yeah.
Yeah.
The main character's called Yozora, because everyone thinks Sora's Yozora, but it clearly looks just like Riku.
It's kind of like a morph of Riku and Sora together.
Yeah, kind of. He's got like two different coloured eyes. We see him in the secret ending.
He's a sage, yeah.
Oh, fuck. In the box. No, not again.
Oh my god, not again. Yeah.
At least Square Enix will tell the story though.
That's true. So we see Yozora in the world Riku's in.
Yep.
But I think it's Riku's there because he's looking for Sora, and I think Sora's just kind of on this weird journey. Different sort of journey that he's on that he doesn't really understand yet, and he's just kind of following, whatever to get back. But then at the end, we see there's no one wears black cloaks anymore. The black cloaks are gone, but there's this guy in a black cloak who's the only person we know in a black cloak other than Lushu, and we don't see this person's face. It has to be the Master of Masters.
Definitely.
And he looks up at the moon. It's a full circular moon, and at first he makes a box shape, and then he makes it into a heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, obviously, this box has something to do with Kingdom Hearts. Like, the Master of Masters planned out a lot. He like, that Keyblade cover movie is so fucking important. Yeah. Like, he set up the Keyblade War by writing a book of prophecies that predicted the future that he already knew, based on having a plan to have Lushu take his eye into the future over generations through time, that would then somehow loop back, and he'd be able to see it, take it in, write it down, and cause the same thing to happen again. Even though it was all horrible shit, he kind of seemed like he wanted to happen, and then he disappeared. What he did was he traveled through time, but obviously, and the reason is I don't know why. We don't know why he's done all this. And we don't know.
Open Kingdom Hearts again? That doesn't seem.
But he's the reason it happened in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Because he was around when the worlds were all one, like the realm of light was all one place.
So the thing I don't understand is everything he wanted to happen happened without him doing anything. But now he seems like he's still involved, and why is he involved? Like, what does he want now that it's all set up? What is it that now that he's set it all up that he wants from it? What does he want from all the worlds being separated? What does he want from these, Kingdom Hearts being where it is? What does he want from... What is he trying to create from Sora? It's almost like his plan wasn't as much to create this chaos. he knew Sora would win. The Master of Masters knew Sora would win. It's like he wanted to create Sora, this ultimate light. But why does he want to make this ultimate light? That's what I think. I mean, Goosebumps talking about this. I think the Master of Masters knew, he had to have known that Xehanort would lose. He knew that already.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think of like, well, what came out of that? Everything. Kingdom Hearts really didn't change because that shit had already happened. The only thing that has really come out of all of this is Sora. The creation of Sora, this person that is the purest of light, the most powerful light that every other light guardian is connected to. That's connected to all worlds. It's like the thing that is Kingdom Hearts, this thing that was one world that connected all worlds, is Sora. Sora's been to all these worlds. He's a world traveler. He's connected to all worlds. Sora is like the human form of Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. Also, something that I just realized as you're talking about that is in Olympus, something that Xigbar says to you. We now know he was Lucio. Says to Sora, find the hearts connected to yours, and that never really comes up again. But if knowing he's Lucio, that might not have been relevant to Xehanort's plan, but might have been relevant to the Master of Masters' plan, wanting Sora to find those hearts that are connected to his.
Well, I just assumed that meant like Roxas and Ventus.
Potentially, but also if the Master wants to use Sora,
which I think is
the
do you think that's
hearts,
I don't think there's any other nothing else makes sense. It's Sora's the one he's using.
I think he's trying to culminate everything within Sora, maybe to use him as a vessel or maybe something else. I'm not sure exactly where you could go with that, but it does seem like the only reason he could have done any of this is to produce what Sora is at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
Because what else do you do? It's not like he wants to open Kingdom Hearts again, surely. And if
but he makes the heart shape of Kingdom Hearts. It's like, well, why? Why does he do that?
Yeah, maybe he wants to do something else. Maybe we only know partially about Kingdom Hearts. Because obviously, Master of Masters comes from a time before the Keyblade War and when the light was more present and when, the realm of light was one whole plane. So maybe the Master of Masters knows more about Kingdom Hearts than we do. Maybe there's more functions to it. Maybe there's more things it can offer if someone opens it. Maybe he knows exactly what to do with it. Maybe Sora has to open Kingdom Hearts or something. If you open it,
Sora's always from the first game. You are the one to open the door to light. He's always been the one to open the door to light. That's the prophecy. That's the real prophecy of Sora. And then I thought about this a lot, and it didn't. That is a criticism of Kingdom Hearts 3 that I was waiting for that. I'm like, well, Sora's the one to open the door. That's what it's all been about. And if that's to do with the Master's Master, the Master of Masters, fucking Jesus.
Just call him the Master. No one else is called the Master. Just call him that.
Yeah. Well,
it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, I'm going to call him the fucking Master's Master.
That doesn't make sense!
Yeah. Well, he's the Master's Master. The Lost Masters Master is the Master of Masters.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Classic Kingdom Hearts.
Classic Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, so I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think everything is about Sora more than I originally thought it was, to the point where, like, all of this is happening on purpose to create Sora, this pure light that every heart is connected to, like a human form of what Kingdom Hearts is supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think there's more of a grand plan
does he want to fight Sora, or does he want to use Sora?
I don't know, because I mean, all I've got in my head at the minute is what we know about Kingdom Hearts is mostly Xehanort, but I don't think the Master of Masters is even similar to Xehanort.
I don't know.
Because Xehanort is darkness.
Literally nothing like it.
I don't think the Master of Masters is darkness. I don't think he's evil. I don't think he's a hero, but I don't think he's evil either. But I don't think he wants to control the worlds or plunge them into darkness or destroy everything. I feel like there's a big grand plan and there's a reason to what he's doing. And
but we don't know what there's, and there's no. That's the interesting thing about the Master of Masters. Like, literally, even in Keyblade cover, he just has a plan. The whole thing is about his plan, but there is never an iota of emotion behind the plan. There's never a moment or iota of intention behind the plan. We don't know why he wants to do it, and we don't know. Just do it
because he has to. And it's almost like that's his job. He's
doing it because he has to do it. But there's also no emotion to it when, like, all the other masters are coming to him like, but why? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, you do it's, and he's like, why would you want to Keyblade? It's like, it seems because he isn't fighting against the idea that a Keyblade War is happening. He's like, the Keyblade War is going to happen. It's just going to happen. And he doesn't seem like he's trying to stop it. And we're confusing that with the fact that he wants this to happen. But maybe it's not that. It's just that he's like, it's going to happen. So he's not even like, he's just emotionless about it. And we don't know why. So we don't know his motives, and we don't know why he has no emotion to it. Is it because he wants it to happen, or is it just because he knows it's going to happen, there's nothing he can do about it? We don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that we do know the reason for everything is for the culmination of Sora to be there.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense.
At this stage, unless there's more to learn.
At this stage, unless we know, what else is there to do with Kingdom Hearts, and also what is in the box. Like, what's the point of the box? Because it's still there, and it's clearly important because he's asked Lucy to protect it.
Yeah.
So the box is clearly important.
And never open it. Like, that's the one rule: never open the box.
Yeah, but he knows what's in it. Lucy knows what's in it though.
Does he?
He whispered it to him. Yeah, the master whispers it to him in keep back cover, and Lucy's like, "Whoa." And then it cuts away. So Lucy knows, unless the master was lying, Lucy knows what's in the box. And the master of masters knows what's in the box. No one else does, though. But for whatever reason, Maleficent and Pete want the box. I don't know how Maleficent found out about it, unless she got her hands on a book of prophecies. But, which could be possible. Oh, maybe, well, she did that time travel thing as well.
Let's talk about this as well, because this goes back to keep back cover. There's a point we haven't brought up, which is the traitor.
The what?
In the Book of Prophecies, there's a traitor. One of the masters is a traitor.
Oh, traitor. Okay, I thought you were saying trader, like with a D, like someone that sells things. That was so weird. Okay, yeah.
One of them's a traitor, and that causes. That's what caused the unions. That's what causes the Keyblade War. The Book of Prophecies, everything that the Master of Masters put together is what caused it. If he didn't do anything, it never would have happened. Well, it could be, not actually, unless it's Lucy.
Maybe, but I think the way I saw it was he tells them there's a traitor, but there's not, because he knows that that's what he has to do, because that's how Kingdom Hearts has to be summoned, because there has to be a Keyblade War, and that's the only way to have that happen. So he tells them that, and then he vanishes and lets them deal with it.
Okay. Here we go. Now it's starting to make a bit more sense, in the sense of the Master of Masters in Keyback cover. What we knew about him was he laid out this plan, and I thought it was his plan to be the evil person, to cause the Keyblade War, to plunge the worlds into separation, and he planted the traitor when there was never a traitor, just to divide them all. And I thought it was like an evil plan, and I'm like, why would he do that? I'm like, I guess he just wanted the Keyblade War to happen because he wanted the Xehanort stuff to happen, and you assume it's because maybe he's evil all the time and plunged in darkness, everything like that. But really, it's like, no, the reason he lied, the reason he caused the war, like, if he never said anything, nothing would have happened. This is what's come full circle for me. If he never said anything, he never wrote the Book of Prophecies, the Keyblade War never would have happened. Kingdom Hearts would be as it was, the worlds would all be one. He wanted that to change. He wanted that to happen. Not because he just wanted a Keyblade War and people to die. Not because he just wanted the world separated and plunged in darkness. He didn't want any of that to happen. That just had to happen to cause something. Yeah. What is that something? At this stage, I think it's Sora. This ultimate person, this chosen one. But what is it about Sora? Or what else is it about Kingdom Hearts that he wants? Because there's something else, something sinister, something diabolical, something more that is deeper, that is the reason he did everything. He didn't do it. He didn't want a Keyblade War. He didn't want everyone to fight each other. He didn't want to separate the worlds. They all just had to happen for some other purpose that we don't know about. That just stuff has had to happen, and he forced it to happen. He forced the Keyblade War. He made it happen. He forced the Heartless to exist. He wanted everything to happen, and he didn't want it to happen. He forced it to happen because it had to happen. Not because he wanted it to happen, because it had to happen. To create an ultimate light in Sora.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Because like we said, I don't think he's not a Xehanort. He's not that type of character. And I like that because it's so much more interesting to see, what does he want? Like, why is he doing all of this, and what comes next now that this is done? Like, I mean, maybe I feel like maybe the reason Xehanort became became dark in the first place. Maybe that had something to do with the Master of Lushu or something, because he had to have come into contact with some like extreme darkness to end up the way that he did. So it'd be interesting to find out how that happened or why that happened. But yeah, there's a lot that I think they're gonna go with. There's so many different plot lines now to tell. You know, you've got Sora trying to find his way back. You've got the Master of Masters, Lushu, the Foretellers, the Box, Maleficent and Pete, and all of that stuff. And on top of that, you can have all the Disney worlds and all those things.
And Riku going to find him. And Final Fantasy worlds as well, maybe.
So much. Oh, okay, that's the thing, right? So clearly, Sora's in the World Ends With You world. From that other Square Enix game, which is interesting because we've never had worlds other than Kingdom Hearts worlds and Disney worlds. So does this mean going forwards they're going to have worlds from other games as well? So you have the World Ends With You,
Square
you'll have
Enix games,
Verum Rex, you'll have Final Fantasy as well, so like we can actually visit these Final Fantasy worlds as well.
Yes.
A lot of people have said maybe there's going to be a side game without Disney worlds and they're just going to do their own worlds, like these. Like The World Ends With You, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Verum Rex.
There's potential. I don't think so. I don't think they'll ever do them without Disney and Pixar worlds again. But
yeah, I don't think you can get rid of Disney.
Maybe
that's the one thing I hope. But I would love to see these introduction of more worlds. So it's not just Kingdom Hearts worlds for the ending and the hub worlds, and then Disney worlds, but also these worlds from other games and other areas you can visit that really change things up. I think that'd be really interesting.
And hopefully it means they'll stop making fucking Final Fantasy games and just focus on making Kingdom Hearts games. Just put Final Fantasy in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I mean, there's a lot moving forward that's coming. There's a lot that's going to happen. I want to see what happens with Ava, and the fact is this lost girl. Obviously all of the Lost Masters and their roles with Lushu, what's in the box, the Master of Masters, Sora being lost, Riku trying to find him, and what role will all the other heroes come back and play later on. And, there's still so many mysteries surrounding Kingdom Hearts. There's so much moving forward, and I'm so stoked that, I got everything I wanted from Kingdom Hearts 3. It got to wrap up and give me closure, while at the same time, I don't have to move on from Kingdom Hearts. I'm as excited for what's next as I was before Kingdom Hearts 3. I am so excited for what's coming next. And there's so much mystery and so much more to come. And that's just exciting that this isn't just one more game they're setting up. This is like the next 10 years they're setting up.
Yeah, so much more. That's what I love about this is I expected Kingdom Hearts 3 to wrap up this story, and then I didn't think it'd be the end of Kingdom Hearts. I thought they'd tell new stories. But it's not even that. It's
Sora.
They've done it in a better way. This is not the end of Sora's story. He might
Which
have
I thought it
defeated
was.
Xehanort,
I thought it was going to be.
But it's perfectly connected. It follows on. It's okay, yeah, this happened, but also all this stuff is done. And it's not just it came out of nowhere. They've been setting up Union Cross, Unchained Key, Keyback Cover for ages so that they can connect it and so that it can flow on naturally as a continuing story, rather than this is a stopping point and then there'll be a starting point. It's no, we're just carrying on. This is one whole story that's continuing. And I love that. I cannot wait to see what they do next, and it looks so interesting, and I love that Zigbar's taking center stage.
Yeah, Haley Joel Osment also said he'd play Sora for the rest of his life.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, he said he says he's Sora's the longest I played a character. I love Sora so much. I love the story so much. I'll play him forever. So
yeah,
that's
I've said whenever he talks about Sora in interviews, he's always so happy when people bring up Kingdom Hearts to him. So he loves the character, and that's great to see. And he plays him so well. You couldn't have anyone else play Sora.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. We've talked for almost 3 hours.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Well, classic Kingdom Hearts.
Longest spoiler cast by far.
Yeah, there was so much to go over.
There's
so much to talk about.
So much to fucking go over. So much happened in this game.
Which is crazy.
What game has had this much... To be fair, Kingdom Hearts 3, I don't think there's any game where so much story happened in a game. It's exhausting. To be fair, there's sections of this game where you put your controller down, you don't play anything for 35 minutes. It's just cutscenes.
Just long cutscenes, yeah. I don't mind though. I just love I love the story, I love the characters, I love the music, I love the world, the atmosphere, the gameplay, everything. Kingdom Hearts is perfect. The franchise, the way it's structured, the way that they do it, it's brilliant. There's no game like it. And I love it. That's why it's my favorite franchise.
Yeah, it's still my favorite franchise now. The Kingdom Hearts 3, one of my favorite games of all time. Just absolutely loved it. Had joy to play, and even though we had some criticisms, and it sounded like at some point you hated the game, clearly in the last hour and a half, what we've talked about, we didn't hate anything. You know,
yeah,
like
I got all of that out of the way at the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go over everything I don't like.
So much excitement to be had about it, and so much to love about this game so much, and yeah, like there's, I can't wait. I'm so happy that even though Kingdom Hearts 3 was the one I was waiting for, that's the longest I'll have to wait. We're now moving on to the next thing. I just don't expect to have to wait as long for the next one. Maybe I'm foolish to think that, but like, you know, Kingdom Hearts 2 is the one I was waiting for, and now I'm just can kind of move on with my life. But I know that it's not over, which is another beautiful thing. Like,
these games.
I can Kingdom Hearts is going to be a part of my life for forever, hopefully. So.
Yeah, I also love with Kingdom Hearts 3 the way that sometimes when you get things that happened a long time ago, and then you make a new one that takes a while to come out, and it's like very new and it's separate from the old ones. Sometimes it loses what it was, and it sort of is like, that was the shit one, because it didn't come out around the time of the others. There wasn't that flow, but like this just feels like it fits. Like it feels like it fits with the other games, and is you know, it feels like it should, and I like that. It feels like a Kingdom Hearts game, and it feels like you can move forwards with it. They never lost, you know, that spark that makes Kingdom Hearts what it is. Even if there's some tiny little things, you know, that, you know, maybe culminate as you know, to something that annoys me. It always feels like Kingdom Hearts, and I love that.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing about this game, is that this game felt like the culmination in gameplay. It felt like the culmination in story, and it felt like Kingdom Hearts the whole time, just in 2019. And in terms of like what's next, I think there's one thing I would like to see. I would like a time jump. Like, I would like to see Sora, Riku as adults, because they're already almost there. I mean, like, Riku's like 50 in comparison to, you know.
Yeah.
But I'd just like to see him, like, you know, from teenagers to like 20. You know, we've grown up with them. Let them be grown up.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very close to that anyways. Well, I mean, I reckon Riku's very close to 20. If not, he's already there.
Yeah, but why is Sora still like 4 years younger than him, even though he's like a year apart?
Sora's 18 in this game.
Is he? Are you sure?
Yeah. Because he was 14 in Kingdom Hearts 1, and 4 years has passed since Kingdom Hearts 1.
How do you know that?
Because Chain of Memories was a year.
Yes.
And then he stayed asleep for a year. Kingdom Hearts 2, he was 16. And then you had Recoded and Dream Drop Distance, and then... Yeah, he was probably 17, 18 in Kingdom Hearts 3.
You're just making that up. Like, you don't know that.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not making it up. I mean, partially, but it's also... that's not just off the top of my head. There is a thing. Like, he is about 17, 18.
Yeah, okay. I just would like to see them as, like, you know... just masters. You know? At that age.
I mean, Riku is a master, though, to be fair. Like, he's fucking sick.
I guess, but Sora literally did everything, and he's still not a fucking master. He
literally... There's something about Riku. Like, he has this, like him and Aqua, they both feel like masters. Sora feels like he's really good at everything.
Dude,
but he doesn't have that
he carried all of them.
I know, but
the whole team, he led and carried them on his back.
Yeah, he should be a master. Really.
And he got the power of awakening. That was all he had to do to become a master. Like, he's fucking got it. Clearly.
He should be. You just need Jens.
They all died, and he brought them all back. Don't tell me that Aqua and Riku are masters, but Sora just seems like, fuck you.
I don't know. It's something about
Sora's
him,
the
like,
master.
I mean, he should be. He should be, but there you go. I mean, wherever this next game takes off, it's going to have to be relatively soon after Kingdom Hearts 3 anyways. You can't really do much of a time jump unless Sora's just been knocking about for 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, he could be. Why not?
Nah. Plus, that secret ending, they're both like the same age. They're wearing the same clothes.
Yeah, I know, but fuck the secret ending. It's just a figure of speech, you know? It's just like...
But it's a figure of speech. Yeah, no, it's just like a representation, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's the word I actually meant. But
No,
it's been
it's
3 hours and I'm so tired and I can't speak anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
man.
there's plenty more Kingdom Hearts to come in the future, so we'll cover that on the podcast and stuff when we get anything new. It's going to be crazy to see, you know, that's the thing. When we watch E3 in the coming years, there'll be 1 year where they'll drop a Kingdom Hearts teaser for a new Kingdom Hearts game at some point.
Exciting. Very exciting.
Which is pretty crazy. But yeah, that's it. Is there anything else you have to say for Kingdom Hearts 3?
Dude, I've said everything. I'm fucking tired.
In case you didn't cover it in the past 3 hours, just in case.
Jeez, I'm sure we missed stuff, but dude, fucking hell. But plus we also had an hour and a half talking about it on Kill Connor Club. We've talked about Kingdom Hearts 3 for 4.5 hours. I think we've got it.
Well, it deserves it. It deserves it.
It deserves it. It deserves to be the longest spoiler cast we've ever done. Not just like for the cinema room, obviously, for the 3 episodes, but any of the spoiler casts we've done. By far the longest. By far the longest, yeah. Wait till Endgame, then it'll be a different story.
Oh yeah, maybe.
But I absolutely love this game. Amazing game.
Yeah,
so
really,
happy.
yeah, it's fantastic.
So happy.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah.
So that's it.
All right, cool. All right, well, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed. If you're listening on Patreon, then I don't know why I said that. If you listen,
thanks. If
you're listening on Patreon, thanks guys. If you're listening on YouTube, then of course this came out a week early over on Patreon. So if you want early access to things, if you really enjoyed this and you want early access to other spoiler casts in the future, or get access to the Clubhouse, all that stuff, you can go and pledge just $1 and you can get access to all of that as well. If you're interested, we'd really appreciate it, and I'm sure you'd have a good time as well. And to thank a few of you sweet vintage lads here, we have. Obviously, our producers, we have Seth, King Richard III, and Josh Devillier. And on top of that, we have... I'm just going to read the fucking list. Okay, we've got Seth, King Richard III, Ballsack47, Josh Devillier, Damian, Beau the Team Tynamite Captain Robertson, Tman or Travis, Casey Wood, Tony the Tarbitor's Pasty Dinas, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Smexy Dork, Lumistrad, Mariford380, Viridian, ArunWyn, Ollie the Dane, Brendan OBQ Overlord, Ravjai, Julie, Prudhvi Muvva, Oscar, Benedict Parker Returns, James and Lad, Connor Durose Bully in the Alley, Gene, Son of a Bitch Ogeaidogo, Furious Coco, the ACMJS, Delta R. Rodriguez, Kyle S. Jaws, Kyle Marvell, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, David Bindis, Roxas, Beau Daman, Lamp, Yazen, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, Elstico91, HBus12, I got Lumbago, The Real Jorrator, Alfie Robert, Brian Ford, Shields, Big Man Assassin, Fizhy, Andreu Martinez, and Pink Flame 313. Thank you all so much for continued support here on Patreon. We really appreciate it. Like I said, patreon.com/, as always, and just $1, you can get early access and exclusive content. It's great. It's bloody wonderful. But that's it. We'll see you in a week's time if you're listening on Patreon for Clubhouse.
Yep.
No. Yeah?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Correct.
Clubhouse. If you're listening on Patreon a week, and Clubhouse will be out on Patreon. And if you're listening on YouTube, then Clubhouse is out now. And if you're listening on YouTube as well, in a week's time, we'll see you for Kill Connor Club. So there you go. That's all good. I think that's all.
Yeah, great. I think you did that right. We've got simply too many podcasts.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
they're all fucking out of order and shit. All right.
Thank you everyone for listening. Greatly appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3 in the comments, on the YouTubes, and on Patreon. And rate us on podcast services, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time, where we'll be covering a Tarantino film. So a bit different to Kingdom Hearts 3, but that's what this is. So we look forward to that, and we'll see you guys next time.
Nice. See you later, boys.